Welcome to the Torque and Horsepower Podcast. I'm your co-host, Eric Herbert.
And I'm your co-host, Alex Stursa. Today we have Nick Purdy with us.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you guys have had some awesome people on the show so far, so I'm surprised you reached out to me.
It's been a good time.
Don't put you have your resume of everything that you've done just in the last 5 years. You fit in that category.
Yeah,
I guess.
You race sprint cars. Your daughter races.
It's been busy lately, for sure. I knew coming up to Reno, I didn't know what the automotive culture was going to be like. I knew there was a Summit Racing, so I was like, that's a good start, you know.
Yeah, better than Jigs.
Yeah.
I remember filling out my application there at Summit, and I got a phone call back, and they were like, cool, yeah, you know a lot about Chevrolets. What do you know about Fords and Dodges?
You're like, is there anything to know?
I was like, I don't know. I don't know much about them, but I'll learn. Yeah, so they sent me a letter back in the mail that said it wasn't a good fit and I wasn't going to be
Are you kidding
Summit
me?
Racing material. So
You didn't want to just drool a little bit and say Mopar, no car? Yeah, Mopar, no car.
Oh, I heard that a lot. A lot. So,
like on a resume, I want to come work. A, B, I'll show up on time. C, I don't use drugs.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you don't know enough about Mopar.
Yeah, basically.
It's not a good fit.
No, so 2 months later, I give them my resume, and I bullshitted it. I was like, oh yeah, I'm a Mopar fan, Ford fan, Honda fan. I know all this stuff, and yeah, got the job. Totally lied.
Totally
lied.
That's how I met you too.
Yeah, Summit Racing.
Yep, and you're the only person I would ever go to.
When you were working with Chris?
Well, even before that, it was just
Yeah.
like Nick was the only person that even knew anything about
Right.
anything, and wasn't like bullshitting me. Like if he didn't know, he didn't know.
Right.
Yeah,
We didn't introduce Big Stick.
Oh, yeah.
The Hammer Miles
Yeah.
Drew. He's over there. Shout out to Big Stick. It's his birthday today.
It's his birthday. If you hear a big thump from under the decks, you know who it was.
Thanks, guys.
We're waiting for that reference.
Yeah.
It was in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have fluoride here. It's testosterone.
Yes,
Yes.
testosterone here.
How old are you now?
I'm 32.
Okay. Yeah.
Fucking spring
Well,
chicken. How old
yeah.
are you?
36. I'm 36.
Explains the hair loss.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I was 18, so I'm a veteran baldy.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm good at it now. I mean, there's positives. You know, I haven't used shampoo in years, so
Yeah.
I just body wash everything and super
Yeah.
slick.
You don't even have to get the tune one. Just get the Old Spice body wash and
That's
fucking
right.
throw her down.
Oh, easy
Easy.
business, man.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
Eco-friendly over there.
Yeah.
there's those days I'll see guys at like Drew's hair. I'm
Right.
like, man, I wonder what it'd be like just to like comb my hair and
Right.
know what that's like. You know,
I don't know.
that
I
would
don't
be
think
amazing.
it's not worth it. My oldest son wants to grow out his hair, so I made a deal with him that I grow out my hair, and I just have this fucking what's the dude from Home Alone that Murph that like gets shocked by the fucking yeah, that's what I look like with a hat off. Like it's fucking awful.
Dude, mine got bad. The beginning of winter, I told my wife, I was like, you know what? What if I just wear a hat all the time and just grow it out through the sides?
Yeah, just grow it to the sides, dude.
People will just think that I have hair. You know, I'll just wear a hat all the time.
Yeah.
And it got to like a weird stage. And I took my hat off and my wife's like, let's abort mission. I am not into that at all.
The full bozo ring going on out there.
Dude, it was so bad. I was like, you know what? I am not feeling very good about myself. And I'm going to go do that right now.
You should get a hat with a mullet sewn into it.
Yeah,
There you go,
we
yeah.
can do that.
When you go to the racetrack, you just put the hat on. People
Yeah.
are like, dude, you grew your hair out. You're like, yeah.
Yep. One of those visors with the fucking hair going out of it. Yeah, you'd be good.
That's like a Hot August Night's attire piece.
It is.
Man.
Yeah, it is. You got to have a 69 Camaro, but other than that, you're good.
That's very true. But yeah, Summit was a cool thing. I met a lot of people, a lot of connections over there. The manager at the time, the guy was awesome. George Winkelmeyer was the manager at that time, and that guy, I mean, he listened to everything and really took a lot of care, and seemed like they interviewed some really awesome people. I worked with good people there. There was people that were into, you know, drag racing, road racing, I mean, four-wheeling, you know, King of the Hammers, and it just seemed like we had like a good group of guys that we could bounce questions off of, and it was just a good team, you know. My favorite thing to do there, believe it or not, was fittings. I loved fittings. A&N fittings were like my jam.
Oh, okay.
And not murdered out ones, the blue and red ones.
The blue and
from
red
the
ones, the
80s,
old school
man.
ones, yeah.
They just stuck with me.
Hell yeah.
But that's how this whole thing came to be, is meeting all you guys just through Summit, and ended up being a good thing. I don't regret that, and I learned a lot of good things, and all the tech classes they put me through, I can't really say, they did me wrong. I think I just found some other avenues to go down. Adam at High Rolling Customs, I think he came in one day and basically asked, if this is something I want to do, and come work for me. And that was a fantastic internship. He trained me, and, he kind of threw me to the wolves. Here's a LB7, LLY, LBZ, LMM, LML, 6 liter, 6.4, 6.7, Cummins, 5.9, 6.7. And I just got kind of thrown to the wolves, and I learned a lot. I can't say I was perfect on every one, but man, he invested some time in me, and I learned a lot, and I appreciated it.
So what'd you do after Adams?
I worked for this guy named, or was it Twisted Metalworks for a minute.
Oh, Chad Gear?
I worked for Chad for a minute.
That didn't last long, did it?
No. Yeah, and I was just trying to get my foot in the door, because I'm like, man, I really like fabricating. I love welding, and I didn't make it long there, but
it was the wrong door.
Yeah, it might have been the wrong avenue to go down, but it was cool. There was a cool truck to drive around and go welding handrails and TIG welding. Is an industry I wanted to be around, but I think automotive was mostly my forte. Not welding handrails and stuff like that. I've just always wanted to be around hot rods and trucks and heavy duty stuff.
That was one of the coolest things with Chris. I never actually got to work there like Drew did, but I would go there and fucking hang out, and just being around just really cool hot rods all the time that people were just pouring money into to get what they wanted. It wasn't, obviously there was some budget stuff, but for the most part, shit would just get dropped off, and they're like, this is what I want, just make it that.
Oh yeah.
It was fucking cool to go to.
Going back to Adams, I met a guy named Tom Ways. That was my first experience with an Ultra 4 car. It was all IFS, IRS. I mean, it sounded awesome, and just a cool dude, man. He was
LS with a big, it's all Motec on it and everything.
Yeah. I just thought he was just a cool guy, man. So you just meet really cool people, walking through the doors, and that's where I got to understand, desert racing a little bit more, and it opened up the doors, I guess. It was probably good to spread the wings and, leave retail and just customers and just go more hands-on. And yeah, and then, you make your way around to the machine shops and learning, where to go, where not to go. And, I mean, there's so much to be. Even nowadays, you go on any car page in Reno and type in anything about any machine shop.
Yeah.
Dude, there's guaranteed 150 comments of people's input and everything. And just
is there?
2/3 of it's just trash.
Trash.
Is there shit on Herbert?
Trash.
Yeah, and
you want to know what the biggest problem with Herbert is? Motherfucker doesn't answer his phone.
Yep.
That's what every goddamn comment says.
It's on do not ring.
Yeah, I know. That's because you don't answer it.
There's a chick that answers the phone, and she says, "We're not taking calls right now. Leave a message."
So then when everybody asks, hey, what engine shop should I go to? And Drew and I put our lives on the line. We're like, oh, go to Herbert's. Like, I called him 37 times, and it won't ring.
Yeah, because it was probably that dude yesterday that was like, can you hone my Harley cylinders? No.
You forgot brother. No, brother.
No, brother. No, we don't. Can I? Yeah. You're going to complain that it takes too long and costs too much.
Right.
I already know what's going to happen before I take the job.
Yeah.
Go pound sand.
Yeah, and I was a victim to that too. The last thing I want to do is call a machine shop and beat them up on the price.
Right.
It's an art what they do. I can't do it in my garage. It's something that I got to reach out for help for.
Yeah.
So
you had to get desperate to come to me.
Yeah,
pissed me off a little bit too. He's like, Augie's had my shit for 7 months. They just need assembled.
Well,
and I was like,
who did you?
He goes, can you do that? And I was like, why didn't you bring him over?
I know
you'd be racing the car last season.
That was so going back to Summit. You start networking and talking to people, and they're like, Augie's the guy. He's a tough guy to work with sometimes, and
we
you got to have
him on the podcast.
Oh, it would be great.
He's gonna talk mad shit about everybody in town. That shop sucks. That shop sucks. That guy's an asshole. That shop sucks. That guy's an idiot.
But what I did like about him is he didn't sugarcoat anything. He's like, nope, that's a bad idea. I would do this, and he would never just try to sell me something cheap, to get me in and out the door. He's like, no, just save your money, do this. So it took me years to put the money together and get the sponsorship
sure,
rolling
yeah.
and everything. And I'm like, all right, dude, Augie, I went in there and I was so proud of myself. I'm like, Augie, we're going to do this, man.
Yeah.
I want you to build my race motor.
There you go.
And so I went in there with, like, put money down and got a block. It was a fresh GM bow tie block.
Oh, okay.
Before then, I've only had, like, Mexican blocks and like,
Right.
stuff that just, they don't hold up very good. So
Right.
Augie and I went together and put this awesome package together, and then he got sick. And then it just, I felt terrible. I didn't want to be blowing the guy up, left and, hey, where's my motor?
No, and that was definitely out of his control, and I feel bad, and I don't know.
So that got kind of stuck in that, So
Yeah,
I wasn't gonna blow
You were
him
in
up,
that.
and
You were the lucky winner that.
kind of, it was just terrible timing. So then, I'm like, okay, well, Augie, let's, just get me all the stuff back. I'll go take it to another machinist. And I don't know, maybe all the money I gave him up front, he already like spent it on all the parts and,
Right.
got everything going. So he was already invested in it. So, I probably couldn't just pull it out. He had a lot of work to do. So he ended up getting the whole short block done, and then the cylinder heads came up, something happened, or he wasn't able to get to them, and then jumped over to Herbert.
Hell yeah.
And I hate doing that. Like, I
Right.
hate to. I want to stay faithful to one machine shop because
People do that to me though. Sometimes
jump back and forth.
Is it because you didn't answer your phone?
Are there any? I guess change the subject for a second. What car blog do you go to see who talks shit?
Reno Cars and Coffee is the
Yeah.
typical
That's-
one that comes up
yeah.
because
Yep.
that's the biggest forum in Reno. Or
In Reno.
car page.
Yeah.
And
Is there
everyone-
anyone there that we want as a customer?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
for
a
sure.
lot of good things actually, and that's why
You would
when
know
I-
if you answered your phone.
when I see stuff that comes up, I always refer your shop,
Yeah.
and I also say that he probably won't answer the phone, but just leave a message.
I always tell people just to go there. Like, just chill
But
out.
no, there's a lot of good stuff. There's the only
Are there like,
the only-
he blew up my Corvette motor?
No,
the
no
only,
negative.
The only negative thing I've ever seen is like, oh, he's kind of expensive, but I was also like, you don't half-ass shit. Like I've seen
Yeah.
the stuff that you do compared to other machine shops, and it's like, if it's not right, we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. So
Yeah.
I'd rather
We
pay
do
more.
the best job we can. There are people better than us. I've seen NASCAR shit. It is like with no budget and 2 prep guys to prep the motor and 1 guy to paint it, the shit comes out real nice. But there's $75,000 a piece. No one in Reno's buying that shit.
Right.
But we try to emulate. Okay, deburr the whole block. Fucking put some good paint on it. Rattle can sucks.
Right.
As nice as we can make it, a lot of people complain. A lot of people don't complain.
Right.
But the phone thing,
Just got to be persistent, right?
there's a
I'm
lot
working
of
on it.
there's
I'm
a
gonna
lot
help
of
him out
there's a
with
lot
it.
of
Yeah,
issues, and I would tell people that are even interested. The whole phone thing is to screen phone calls, because once this whole phone sales terrorism happened,
Right.
where it's auto dial, and then when you pick up, then once you answer, then they start connecting the other line.
Right. Right.
So you count to like 30
Yep.
or 40 seconds, and then there's, can I help you? I found you're qualified for a new loan. And you're like, who is this?
Yeah.
I had that this morning. They called me and they're like, "Hey, some neighbors reported damage on your roof."
You're pre-approved.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Well, are you going to be there between the hours of such and such?" And I'm like, "No, not at all. There's actually nothing wrong with my roof." And they just kept pushing it, and I don't know. I almost, when you're driving down the road,
Right,
I almost
right.
like, maybe I'll get a little lonely, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'll screw around with this guy
Yeah.
for a little bit, waste his time, and be like, nope, not interested," and then hang up.
Well, they got me good because they called me, and some of the listeners might not know I was on probation for a little bit, and so they called me and said, hey, this is so and so with Lyon County Dispatch, which is where I was on probation, and so they're like, this is so and so with Lyon County Dispatch, because I got that PPP loan, and it got forgiven.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it got forgiven. So I got the PPP loan, I got forgiven. They're like, hey, this is about your PPP loan. We've been contacted by, not even, I can't remember, it was the SBA that you've defaulted on. I was like, I didn't default on it. It got, and they're like, hey, we see your shop's at this address.
Oh, it was a scam.
It was a scam, yeah. So they're like,
Meet
hey.
us at Walmart with Walmart gift cards?
No, it wasn't. No, they told me, which I have a couple friends that are cops. One was on here, and I know better. I should have hung up, but I was worried because I was on probation. I was like, I don't need to get arrested right now. And so they're like, hey, if you don't, you got to go down and turn yourself in. And I was like, okay, like I'll go fucking turn myself in. So my shop's like, I don't know, 5 miles from the Lyon County Lyon County Sheriff's Office. So I started cruising down there, and it was weird because the guy was like, how long is it going to take you to get there? And I was like, well, if you know where my shop is, like it's going to take me like fucking 10 minutes to get there probably. And he's like, all right, well, are you past the golf course yet? And I was like, that's fucking weird, like, because I do pass a golf course on my way. So just like everything they said,
jived.
I got had, dude. I 100% got had. And then so I pulled up, and they're like, all right, well, we're gonna go get our deputy or whatever. We'll meet you outside. And I was like, okay. So I'm waiting there, and then this dude got on the line, and he's like, well, if you can pay back the $36,000, then we'll let it go. And so I was like, nope. And so I walked inside, and I was like, hey, I got a call from you guys. And the lady was like, hang up. And I was like, okay.
Oh,
And she's
that's
like,
a good scam.
It is a good
scam.
scam. And so the lady was like, if we want to come get you, or if we want you to be in jail, we'll come get you. And I was like, that's fair. I was like, but I'm on probation, so I didn't fucking know. Like, I don't need this right now.
That's a good scam.
It was a good scam, yeah. But luckily, I drove to fucking dispatch, and she was super cool about it. She's like, you're like the fourth person this week. I was like, I know, it's always like old people, and apparently I'm fucking getting old or something, because they got me, dude. They have me. But when they're like, oh yeah, if you could just wire us, this much, then we'll call it off. And I was like, well, why? I'm not wiring fucking Lyon County money for it.
I have the letter that it's forgiven.
I do too. Yeah,
Like,
yeah. But I got
come get me.
If I wasn't on probation, I would have just fucking hung up. But I was already on probation.
You were nervous.
I was fucking nervous, dude. Yeah, I got 2 kids and a wife and all kinds of shit. Like, I don't need to be going to jail.
What was that? The senior porn ring you were going?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, apparently you can't film them without their consent.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh shit! I've been making so much money off my wife's OnlyFans page.
Well, it's weird, dude. The
She
fucking
doesn't know
nursing
she
home
has
always lets
one.
me in, so I don't know why it wasn't
You're like,
okay.
no, I'm a visitor. I'm a candy striper. I need you to sign this consent form. It looks like a birthday card.
Yeah. Sign this NDA really quick, and we'll be good.
So yeah, I was like 37 spams out of like 40 phone calls every day.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't work in the shop if the phone rings.
Right.
And I've gone through like 3 secretaries.
You got to get yourself a Tara.
We decided that female secretaries were not a good idea at the shop.
That's fair. Yeah, I can see that.
So then I hired a male secretary, Vaughn.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen him or met him. He's like, I don't know, knocking on 100. Still spry.
Yeah.
Knows how to work the phone. Doesn't want to answer it. Like, well, that did
good.
Because my whole vision was, okay, we got rid of
Issues.
We had a setup for a secretary. Hi, how much? People are like, how much to surface ahead? And so we had a price list. You could flip through it, and like she could quote a job, and so I everything was ready. Vaughn didn't want to answer the phone. I was like, Vaughn, you're gonna answer the phone. If they want a quote, you can give them this price. This is what it starts at. You can take their name, put it in the computer, do a work order, and like his head just went. Pfft. I'm not doing that. Like, okay, what do you want to do here? He's like, I want to clean. Okay. Yeah. You got the job. So then I called the phone chick. I'm like, hey, make the phone not work anymore.
Yeah.
But it's so I don't get spam. Every single message in 10 seconds is transcribed into an email, and it emails my phone and goes, ding. Oh, this guy called. He wants you to hone his Harley cylinders. I'm like, delete. I don't have to talk to the guy.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a Mini Cooper 1000 something something. I need the engine rebuilt. Delete.
Yeah.
I can only imagine the distractions that go on that shop when you guys, and you're on that like roll too. You're like moving stuff out, things are happening, and then just somebody comes in, and they might even be a great person, but it just totally wipes you off of like your task. And
it is.
My neighbors do it. Like, I'll be in the garage, and for the most part, my neighborhood's pretty quiet. Most of the people,
You're the problem.
I am the problem.
Yeah.
Like most people, everyone's got really nice yards, and I do too. I'm actually pretty good with my lawn game. Life's good there. But everyone, like, they'll drive in, like, you see the car come up the road, garage door opens, car goes in, garage is shut. You do not see anything else.
Right.
I am like just grinding away, welding, starting motors, and just I'm like getting ready to go racing. And as soon as I crack a valve cover open and start running my valves,
Yeah.
dude, 6 neighbors roll over. Hey, Nick, you got that wrench? You got that power tool? Or you got, you know, hey,
Yep.
where are you going this weekend? You know, and it's like, I feel like I'm an asshole sometimes because I'm like really short.
Right.
When I'm in that mindset and I'm trying to run all my valves, and you know how valves are, it's a feel thing, and I'm like, it's a little tight, it's a little loose, and you just go back and forth, and then that's when my neighbors will roll up in my garage.
And you
then
don't finish it that night.
I stop. I have to stop, and then I have to start all over. I might even be on the last cylinder, and I'm like, no, something's wrong. I gotta start all over again and do it.
Yeah.
Like I was telling the Hammer, my daughter will always catch me in the little bit. I love her more than life itself. She comes out and total dad guilt, man. Like, I'll be doing something to the car and, Dad, let's go inside, let's go play. And I'm like, not right now, baby. I gotta get this car done. And then it just eats at me. I'm like, I need to go inside, play with her, you know.
Right.
And then abort mission again. And then I'm on day 3 of trying to run valves on my car, you know.
Yep.
So I can't imagine people rolling into the machine shop when you guys are really trying to get stuff pumped out.
And there's enough people that have figured out just show up. And it's like, I'm trying
you looked at me for that.
I'm trying to build a motor, and like 3 guys come in all at the same time.
Right.
Like, I'll go wash my hands because we're not building anything for the rest of the day. And they know, and like there's the one that just wants to hang out and shoot the shit to like, because he doesn't have shit to do.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, I was just in the neighborhood.
Yep.
You're like, why'd you pick mine?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, I get that all the time at the shop, though. Like, especially like old timers. With my dad being like an old timer, and he, not saying he has more time than I do, but like he'll stop what he's doing just to talk to like people, and they'll come in and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, and what do you got going on? What's going on with this excavator?" And
I just want to see what you're working on.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, I got shit to do, and same thing. Like, I pay for my cell phone like transfers all the calls through Verizon, and I pay for like the robocaller thing, so it is pretty good about like fishing those out. It'll just send them straight to voicemail, so I'm pretty good. But I get calls all the time. Hey, I have this old Case 580. The engine locked up on it. How much is it gonna be? I'm like, well, it's probably 15-20 grand. And like, well, I bought the backhoe for $5,000. I'm like, well, buy another one because that thing's fucked. Like, I don't know what to tell you, but it's all day long shit like that.
Yeah, I can't. So I have no one to answer the phone.
Yeah.
I have no one to order parts. I have no one to bill customers. I have no one to do invoices.
Right.
I have no one to do collections.
Yeah.
I have no one to run the dyno.
Right.
And I have an assembler who's pretty good, but it's better if you supervise.
Right.
I'm not going to name names. He's always in a hurry.
Yeah.
It's like he's flat rate. I'm like, dude, this isn't flat rate. Slow down, breathe. Just breathe. But you have to watch him and reel him back. And we do a great job together, but the fucking phone can't ring.
Right.
And so I don't know what I got to do. I have a lot of work that people have figured out. They just email me.
Right.
Or they text me because the VIPs have my number.
Yep.
And they're
I'm
like,
the same way, though.
Can you do this? I'm like, yeah, I can do that. But
well, even today, like I was sitting there, Drew's wife, Tara, does our books on the side beside her other job. And we're sitting there and we're trying to figure out a bunch of our situations that we have. And I was just getting phone call. And she's like, Jesus Christ. She's like, you can answer if you want. I was like, no, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, we need to figure out where this money's going. So we going through it. And I was talking to my guy Raul a couple days ago, and my phone would not stop ringing. I had 84 phone calls in one day. Like, it just won't fucking stop. And it's like 90% of it is shit that like doesn't need to be referred to me. Like, it's not even like it's not new customers calling me. It's customers to talk to me about like just random shit. And it's just like, dude, my fucking
tough.
guy's already on site. Just go talk to him about it. Like, if he's working on this, you know, he's working on your cylinder or whatever, and now this unit has a leak, just go ask him. Like, he's there every fucking day. He's on contract with you. He'll set it up. Like, it's not that big a deal. You don't have to tell me about it. Like, just, he's going to put in his notes, Tara's going to put it in a invoice, and you'll pay for it. That's like, that's as simple as it gets. But all day long I get called.
Yeah. I don't want to be an asshole.
I don't either, and that's why I try to.
Like, people perceive that as rude or he's not interested.
Right.
I can't do a good job for this guy if I keep dropping what I'm doing for you.
Right. And then vice versa. If
You
I'm
want
doing something for you, then this guy's going to call.
You don't want people calling me when I'm doing your job.
Right. Exactly.
And they don't think about that. And
Right.
I think that's a problem with society today is now everyone's like, me.
Right.
Like, no, that guy's working. I'm in a tough spot, Nick. As you know, we have had a shit ton of machine shops. There's plenty of fish in Reno for machine shops. I used to get a call once a day. They call nasty engines. Oh my God.
I almost didn't put that on the thing.
How much to build? How much to build a 360 Magnum Chrysler? And I'm like, it's gonna be $7,000. They're like, well, Nasty's quoted me $3,500.
Then go there.
And I'm like, what? Why are you calling me? Well, they're really busy.
Well, I guess I'm not.
So
I bet they are at $3,500. Fucking
Yeah.
send it to them. Yeah.
Right.
we don't price match,
Right.
bro.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be $7,000. I haven't even seen the motor yet. How
Right.
do you want me to tell you what it needs?
I was gonna say that's so subjective. Just
Like-
to try to get a quote over the phone
Yeah.
for a
and
complete engine.
then we got calls after they closed. They went out of business and they fucking closed.
Yeah.
And that guy is
Is that the dude that was on Heimer right there? Was that it?
Yep.
British
Yeah.
4x4.
Yeah.
That was the old building.
Yeah.
He doesn't know shit about machining, and he bought like 3 machine shops, all junk, moved everything to one building,
Yeah.
and then he hired some knuckleheads from Ames, and he's like, okay, we started a machine shop, go ahead and machine up engines. I'm going to be in California.
Right.
How do you think that's going to go?
Right.
Total dumpster
It's
fire.
like I worked at a boat shop for 5 years at the lake for owners of the boat shop
Right.
that had never driven a fucking boat. And I was like, so when a customer calls you and they're like, it's all neutral. She's like, I don't know what that means. Because you've never driven a boat. How do you own a boat shop
Yeah.
and you've never owned a boat in 70 years?
Right.
Like, and that's what Nasty's was. And he has money. So he's like, oh, I'll throw money at it. He put flyers at Summit when you can't put flyers at Summit. And he's like, I'm going to put all the machine shops in Reno out of business. And
I remember that.
All of us are like, all right, bring it on.
That's such a bold statement.
Like 18 months later, shit's all auctioned off and he's fucking packing it up and now it's British 4x4.
Yep.
Like, how'd that go for you? But after he closed, people would call me.
Yeah.
Oh, I need my small block Chevy rebuilt. They quoted me $2,900. And I was like,
They're not in business.
they're not there anymore.
Yeah.
There's probably a reason for that.
Yeah.
There is no way you can do that motor. Like, if you want a cheap-ass motor, order a ATK or a GM Performance from Summit.
Yeah.
I can sell you a GM motor for the same price. Like, I mean, that's as cheap as you're going to get
Right.
something quality. Anything less than that, you're going to spend like 17 weekends in your garage because all your neighbors are going to want to help.
Right.
Yep.
Put this motor in, fire it off, and it's going to flatten a lobe on the cam.
Right.
there.
Been there.
Been there.
Another 3 weekends taking the motor out. Then the reman company is going to charge you like $700 to ship it back.
Yep.
Before they'll approve a warranty. And then when you send it back for $700, they're going to be like, oh, no, you didn't have the right oil in it. We're not going to warranty it. Even if you did have the right oil in it. Because how's that going to look when you go to court? It's he said, she said. And now you're $4,200, don't quote my math, into this job that you're going to throw in the garbage now. And then you come to me and you're like, how much to build a motor? And I'm like, $7,000. And they're
Yeah.
like, fuck, I just spent $4,200. I have nothing to show for it.
Right. You have paperweight.
And now you're like, do you take American Express? It's terrible. I'm gonna hog the show for a second. I hate AMCs. Not with a passion like I hate British cars. But there's a
I think I've
Facebook
done
post.
2 of those at your shop, though.
AMCs?
Yeah.
We have another one
Positive.
right now, I think.
I don't think there's a car I have like zero like that. There's not a car I don't have the least. I have no experience with AMC. I can't
Me
say
neither.
anything
Yeah,
about it.
I
I don't think I've probably sold 3 parts in my life for an AMC. Yeah, that's a tough one.
You're like, does it still run? When you're at Summit, you're like, they're like, yeah, I need a blah, 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 water pump, distributor, rotor, wires. And you're like, does it still run?
Yeah.
Did you inherit it? Did you? Was there a death in the family?
Yeah.
And they're like, you got to move this piece of shit out of our yard. Go
Really?
ahead and you're like, fuck.
There was one AMC in town, and it's a back-halved AMX.
Oh.
The dude looked like Sammy Hagar.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Oh, dude, it's the coolest dude. I just like talking to him. He's
Right?
just such a unique individual,
Yeah.
you know? But yeah, that's the only AMC that I know of in the town.
There's a few.
How's part? Like, is it easy to get parts for AMCs?
No.
Oh, man.
Oh man. It's
But there's probably like a cult following of them, huh? The
I'm
dudes
sure.
that
there
have
is.
them is
There's
just
a
fucking
club. There's a
about 'em.
club.
Yeah.
And they ask me for sponsorship every year, and I'm like, "What do you want?" He goes, "Well, like gift certificates." I'm like, "That means they have to come here." No.
Yeah.
I'll give you some T-shirts and stickers,
Right.
And like a free case of oil.
Yeah. Here's some mobile break-in oil. Fucking
yeah.
don't call me.
Like, I don't want the guy to bring the part here because
Yeah.
it's gonna be an AMC.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this guy, I guess, pretty famous restoration shop of AMCs, which I didn't know people got those restored, but famous dude wrote a 4-page deal on Facebook to all of his customers yesterday. And I don't know how I caught it on mine. I follow him or something. And it was pretty interesting. He was like, we will no longer do engines for anyone that we're not restoring a car for, because he was the AMC guy.
Right.
You sent him your motor and it would be awesome and correct when you got it back. He said, we can't do it anymore. And he has 2 pages of why. Like, no one wants to be a machinist. You can't get parts on time. They subbed out their machine work.
Right.
He said that at the crank grinding shop, the dude that grinds cranks correctly is retiring in a year, and that shop is not going to replace him.
Right.
And so, and then when you get bearings, they're wrong, and you get pistons, they're wrong. And he's like, we can't. He wrote in there, they're flattening, like, I don't know, 6 out of 10 cams.
Right.
We're going flat on the dyno.
Jesus.
And he's like, it trashes the whole motor.
Right.
And you can't charge a customer for it.
No.
And he's like, I'm not going to do engines anymore, because we didn't make money at it before, but we can't warranty stuff that won't even make it off the dyno because we can't get good parts for it.
Right.
And so to all of our customers, we don't do engines anymore.
Damn.
And it was like, oh shit.
It's kind of sad.
I'm
but
in
yeah.
the same business. But we had Ames. We know that common denominator. We had Superior. We had Hughes. We
Is
had
Superior, like, are they out? I haven't seen all of you in a few months.
He's gonna be done. This is last year, so he was
Okay.
gonna be done last fall because they jacked the rent up on the building. Someone bought the building. They're like, oh, it's gonna go up 40%. He's like, I can't pay that. I'm closing, and they're like, they did the math because commercial real estate's not as hot as everyone thought.
Right.
And they're like, well, we'll do another year for the same price. And he's like, okay, I'll be here another year. But he said, I'm really retiring, not because of any other reason besides I need to, like, enjoy part of my life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
While
for
I'm
sure.
Absolutely.
still ambulatory and not dead and all those things. So
Yeah.
he is good. He is closing this summer. But
So Dustin has no interest in this? Like, we don't, there's
no,
no...
we've had conversations. I told him that I would offer Dustin a job, but I would strongly advise that Dustin find a job for state, county, benefits, retirement,
Yeah.
and he won't make. Unfortunately, he won't. I'm friends with Dustin, but he won't make it in our shop.
He's a wealth of knowledge. Like, it would just suck for that to go to the wayside.
He could do a good job, but he has an ego bigger than his hairdo, and
He's just as bald as I am. Have you
he
seen him
bald
take his
now?
hat off? Yeah, he was doing that same shit I was thinking about doing. Like
The bozo ring?
the bozo
oh
ring.
wow, I only see him with a hat on, so it
Yeah.
just goes this way.
Next time, ask him to take his hat off. You'll be pleasantly surprised. He rattles my cage every time I go in there, so I gotta.
Oh no,
poke back
he
at
is.
him.
He's definitely a character. There's no future in this business, and that's depressing to me. It's a lost skilled trade. Dan, like, I already had a conversation when Dan and Dale say they're done. I'm closing the shop. There's no, like, that's my business model. When the old guys that know how to do shit don't want to do it anymore, there's no.
Well, who's gonna go through these? Like, is it cheaper just to go buy a crate motor? Like, nobody wants to go through motors anymore, or engines? Excuse me.
Truth be told, the government doesn't want us to burn gasoline.
I mean, it's not that crazy because in my industry, like, I I completely quit doing engines for the same reason, because I have a great engine guy, but we can't put parts in it that I can warranty. And every time there's a local dealer that I buy all my stuff from, and when I buy something from them and say the lifter goes out and fucks a block up, they're like, here's your new lifter. You're like, oh, cool. Well, they're like, well, we didn't put it in, so this is yours.
But the warranty claim is like $17,000. They're like, no, we just owe you a lifter.
For a 3406, the warranty claim's fucking $45,000, and they're like, here's your fucking $25 lifter.
Like,
and most of the time they'll fucking deny that. So I 100% do not do engines anymore for that reason. I've been burned so many times, and at the same time, it's not my customer's fault. They brought me an engine that ran. It's houred out. We go to rebuild it. The thing makes 250 hours, and it's fucking smoked. And so they're like, well, you rebuilt it. I need another one. Completely fair. Right. I agree with that statement 100%. We still do transmissions. We still do torque converters. We still do axles, things like that, because most of the time, the hard components are going to be fine. Like a transmission, if if one of the discs fails in a tranny, that's fine. I'll rebuild the tranny again. We only use Cat components or John Deere components or whoever. I don't use any aftermarket parts for that reason. But at least when something goes wrong inside one of those components, your hard parts are still good.
Right.
An engine, when you fail something like that, you are buying a block. You are buying a head. You are buying hard parts. And you'll never make money doing it.
No, that's the fucked up part about what, like the AMC guy said. He's like, we can't get good parts now. You buy a $25 lifter costs you $45,000,
right?
And people are like, why won't you rebuild my engine?
Right.
I'm like, you don't understand.
Yeah.
Well, if you want, I want to keep my name good.
Yeah.
I can't put a $24 lifter in it, and then the thing, it's a whole motor at that point.
Right.
People don't get that.
I tell all my customers, we had him on the podcast, Quentin. He sells warrantyable engines, and he's really good about his warranty. He's not rebuilding the engine. He is buying them from a supplier and then selling them. But at least they'll warranty it, and I don't know, exactly what their product is. I've put a ton of their engines in. I've only had a problem with one engine, and they paid Quentin to pay me to fix the engine, and we never had an issue.
That's a good deal.
It was a really good deal. I mean, it wasn't what I would charge to redo the engine, but it made my customer happy. Quentin, it didn't cost him a bunch of money. It probably cost on a $60,000 engine, ended up costing Quentin $1,500. Cost me $1,500. Not that bad to keep a customer happy, especially a customer that's spending over $1 million a year with you. $1,500 is like, dude, we'll take care of it for you. So that's
doable.
good.
That's doable.
But if that same problem would have happened to an engine that I warranted, or that I would have to warranty, it would have cost me $60,000. So it's much
like straight out of your pocket.
Straight out of my pocket. No questions asked. I would have had to fix it. Whereas a transmission, converter, stuff like that doesn't have that same financial impact that an engine does. So
risk is less.
The risk is so much less versus the reward. Because on an engine, say a 3406C, they're in everything. They're in excavators. They're in the Reno is like world renowned for 980G loaders. We have more 980G loaders here than anywhere else in the world. There's probably fucking 200 of them just in Reno. And a 980G loader, the first, Gen 1, takes a 3406C. The parts for them are absolutely fucking shit. You can't get good parts for them, and they're a fucking $45,000 engine. And if it smokes, that's my $45,000. So I won't rebuild them because it's not worth my fucking time. Whereas the converter and tranny behind that, those take a transverter, so the converter's built into transmission. We'll rebuild that. It's a $25,000 rebuild. I'm probably going to make $6,000 on that rebuild. If it shits, it's probably going to cost me $10,000 to fix it. So the risk isn't that crazy compared to an engine that I'm going to make the same $6,000 on, but if it fucks up, it's going to cost me $45,000. It's just not worth my time to do it.
You don't want to lose sleep over that one.
No, it's not worth it. And I get customers all the time. Hey, check it out, put new fucking head gaskets, surface the head, put new rings in it, check the crank, check the cam, check all that stuff, and just put it together. That's fine, but as soon as it leaves my shop, in their head, it's, I have a new engine. You don't have a new engine, actually, but as far as they're concerned, it should run like it's brand new. And last, fuck, some of those 3406Cs are making it 26,000 hours when Cat said it should be replaced at 15. It's doubling its life, and then it makes it 500 hours and gets smoked. And they're like, what the fuck, dude? I've had this thing since 1999, and it made it 3 months rebuild from you, and I'm like, well, it wasn't our fault, but I have to eat it. And I've done that 3 or 4 times, and I'm done with it. I'm not doing it again.
It's parts or machine work, and if the parts are fucked, it doesn't matter how good of a job you do. It's so crazy what's happened.
Yeah.
And it's happening like this.
So it's a steep dive.
I mean, it's the same thing with society, our country, the government.
Everything's just working against you.
We have a high dollar university,
right,
having a staged protest that's anti-Jew because they don't like what is happening to the Palestinians.
Which is in a real place.
If we set up a deal and we happen to be white, I'm half Mexican, but I'm not half Jewish.
You wouldn't know from the hair.
True. That was the sweet Irish, Scottish, Swedish.
That definitely has an Irish tone to it.
Yeah, definitely. We would all be in jail if we were waving Hitler flags out there.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But at Cambridge University, like 700 kids can come out and be like, "Death to the Jews." What the fuck is happening?
Well, my favorite part is they're all on the LGBTQ thing. Go do that in Palestine where Hamas is.
Let's
Good luck. Good luck, homie. Fly out, dude. Yeah, good luck.
I'll sponsor that with my tax dollars. Put everyone in,
I'll pay for the flights right now.
Fly
over, dude.
First
Good luck.
class over there, drop them off in Iran and go, have fun.
Yeah, good luck.
They'll be dead in a week.
Yeah.
What?
But I do think
what the hell? I don't...
I do think it has something to do with them not wanting old units still running, because like Cat offers something called Yellow Mark. Mm-hmm. It's their part.
Took a left.
Yeah, took a hard left.
Cat's got a yellow mark.
Yeah, I had to get off that subject for a minute because I'm going to rant. But Cat offers this. It's called Yellow Mark, so it's considered Cat quality, but it's outsourced. So they're not. It's not coming from a Caterpillar themselves as a manufacturer.
But does Cat have the same warranty on it?
But a lot of these older engines, which
you can only get Yellow Mark.
You can only get Yellow Mark.
Oh, but that's the loophole.
That's loophole.
That's a poop hole loophole.
If you buy an engine from Cat, they won't use Yellow Mark components. But I can't buy non-Yellow Mark components for a lot of things.
Oh no!
So they're setting you up for failure, because what they want is for this old unit to be to the point
they
where
want you to buy a new one.
That's exactly what they want. They want you to buy a new one. Whereas Caterpillar's always been, hey, this machine is a lifelong machine. Every time it needs rebuilt, you just rebuild it. You don't have to buy another one. Just make this thing new again. Well, they're making it so either only the dealer can do it, or you have to buy a new machine.
So I don't know much about Caterpillar, so I want to feel included in this conversation.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So
it's a big car with tracks.
Oh, yeah. Boy. So we're looking for a new hauler for the race car.
Right.
Just been getting heavier and heavier, more tools, more spare parts, generators, side by side.
Cat 3206 and diesel pusher.
My question was, I keep finding the 3116s.
Don't do 3116. Get a C7.
3126 is another?
If you have a 3126E, it's basically the same as a C7.
Okay.
But you do not want a 3116.
Okay.
Right, you are going to get...
3716.
You're going to pass everything but a gas station. It's going to get shit fuel mileage. It's going the max horsepower, don't quote me on this, on a 3116 is like 240.
I just wanted to get there. Like, I'd take a road trip and just sit in the slow lane. I wasn't worried. I was more worried about reliability.
You would be way money ahead by getting to 3126E or C7. You're gonna be way happier. There's a ton of people out here who's gonna drag me for this. I have 9 service trucks with C7s. They all hate C7s. Change your fucking oil. Quit being a dirtbag, and the C7 will run for forever. C7s are great fucking engines. Caterpillar invented Huey, which is what a 7.3 was. 6.0. Huey is a great system. It does not work good on dirty oil.
Or when it's extremely cold.
Huey works good when it's cold. You just have to have something to help feed it hot air.
There was one morning, it was my big run-in with Power Stroke.
Right.
Adam's whole yard, man. It was High Rolling Customs.
Yeah.
It was 6.0, 6.0, 7.3, 6.0, 6.0. And like Adam's like, all right, pull everything out of the yard, because that's how we got into the shop. It took me about 2 hours to get all the trucks started, ether and cycling glow plugs left and right. And the very last truck that was up there was an LB7. It was, I mean, that thing was junk.
Right. Torched right off.
Oh, dude, it needed head gaskets, injectors. I mean, it needed an injection pump. I go in there, it fired right up, pulled it right out. All the freaking power strokes, man. They were just
interesting.
They ran me through the ringer. And Adam's like, what took you so long?
Well, the funny part about like a Huey injected engine
Ford.
is even if you ether it, a lot of times it still won't start.
Yeah.
You need two 12-volt batteries that are completely charged to the max, and for its time,
a blowtorch, a heat gun.
Yeah. Huey came out in the early 90s, and for it made it past its time.
Yeah.
Common Rail had came out. There's a lot of other things. But in 92, if you had a Huey engine, you're fucking doing good because you had adjustable horsepower ratings. Mm-hmm. You had altitude adjustment. You had all these things that it could figure out on its own. Mm-hmm. However, once you got to the early 2000s, it's old technology. That being said, C7 is an ACERT engine, and you're starting to get into the first tier of emissions. It knew trim files for injectors. It knew a lot of stuff, and they do start better. But 7.3s are not the rest. Cold starts, I do love 7.3s. I have one myself. But
those are my favorite cold starts.
They are fun.
But
you're like, I think that's a misfire. No, it's a not fire.
Because you have to think, so when Cat made Huey, they had ether injection.
Right.
Ford never offered ether injection. You had
would you screw a can into the dash and go shh?
Cats actually, you have a button, or later models would know ambient temperature and know how much ether to give it. So it would shoot ether in for a certain.
No, are you shitting
No,
me
I'm dead
right
serious.
now?
Yeah.
Legit.
So the older versions that had a button for ether injection, you can hold it as long as you want. It's not going to inject the ether. It's got a timer.
It's a set amount.
It's a set amount. That being said, it doesn't care what ambient temperature is. The older versions will look at ambient temperature, how cold engine oil is, how cold engine coolant is, and they will decide how much ether we're going to put in it. And it's got an ether canister that you just spin into it. So those engines have enough tolerances and everything to be fed a certain amount of ether. Mm-hmm. Ford, when they introduced the 7.3, they never did that. You got a fuel heater, which the fuel heater is almost always fucking shorted out on a 7.3, and the glow plug relay. If you put anything besides a Fomoco one in, it's also shorted out. Mm-hmm. So you're starting just dead cold. If it's below 30,
it won't start, will it?
Well, the best part is they have glow plugs, fuel bowl heater, and they have an inlet air heater. So they have fucking three things, and if one of those three things is failed and it's below 50, that bitch ain't fucking started. You're getting a bunch of white smoke and a whole lot of nothing.
So the fastest diesel I've ever put together is unfortunately the 6.4.
6.4s are banging, dude.
I mean, we did turbos and head studs, and it was a single cab long bed truck.
Yeah.
And the customer ended up taking it out to Fallon around like 1120s.
Yeah, fuck yeah, it did, yeah.
And I was like, man, and then all the Duramax guys would come in, and it'd be like a 4-door long bed with a big road armor bumper on there, 12,000-pound winch, auxiliary tank in the back. And then those were the guys that were like, hey, I want to do a bigger turbo and injectors and head studs. And I'm like, well, I mean, it would have been fast if the truck didn't weigh 12, 13,000
pounds. And you were
pounds.
pushing 40s.
I know.
Like, if you have 40-inch tires, it'd probably be fucking quick, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was an interesting time. But, yeah, 6.4, that's the...
6.4s I had a 6.4 that I loved, and it actually developed a slight, what sounded like a rod knock, but it ended up being a broke piston. Still ran, started right up, but it had a fuck of a sound. So I put it on Facebook Marketplace. I was like, engine's dead, still runs, put it on trailer. Sold it, but it was fun.
Those had an issue. They were pumping the fuel into the cylinder to light the DPF off.
Yeah, so what they would do is on your exhaust stroke, they would dump fuel in the cylinder, and then it would wash cylinders out. Yeah, exactly.
We did a bunch of warranty shit for the Ford dealer in Carson. I was like, what the fuck? He's like, it's only got like so many thousand. I'm like, it's wore out, and the piston would have like 12 thou clearance.
Wow. Yeah.
And like, but only on the corners. I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, oh, it's the DPF deal. We gotta. Oh, don't put it in the cylinder.
Well, so
just spray it in the back.
Cat did that for a while too. So they even had a spark plug in. They called the ARD head. And
it was like before the Cat.
Yeah, so it's before all your DPF, SCR, everything. They would put a spark plug in there, and then they would dump fuel through the cylinder on the exhaust stroke, and they would also dump fuel through that ARD head, and then that spark plug from the hot fuel coming out, ready to be ignited with compression, it would ignite that fuel. Well, There's a reason Cat doesn't make truck engines anymore because fucking it didn't work.
Hey, Eric, is there a truck that has more push rods than the 6.7 Power Stroke? First time I opened one of those motors, I was dumbfounded by the amount of push rods I seen in them things.
How do you like the valve bridges and rocker arms for 6.7s? The chintziest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. I love 6.7s. They're a fucking joke.
Yeah, I've never had a problem with any of those issues.
It's a tiny piece of sheet metal.
It's a piece of sheet metal. I took it.
It doesn't turn any RPM. I think that's a saving grace.
They do turn RPM though. Compared to other diesels, you can turn fucking 4,000 RPM or more, no problem with 6.7, and it's got sheet metal fucking rocker arms.
He's like 4,000. Volkswagen Rabbit diesel in 1984 went like 4,500.
Yeah, but you got to think a C7. If you ever at 2,400 RPM, she's cooking.
There's a lot of stuff moving there. Yeah,
she's fucking moving.
The inertia factor on that's like in thousands of pounds.
Yeah. So we should actually change course a little bit because we haven't talked about you at all. So, where'd you grow up?
Morgan Hill, California. If you want to say grew up, I never actually.
Isn't there racing right by there?
San Jose Speedway. That was where I first got introduced to sprint car racing.
Oh, okay.
Dirt tracks.
I've seen that on.
It's the big the fairgrounds, and my dad tells me he brought me there when I was 8-9 months old, and that was like the first time I was in the grandstands with a bunch of chain smokers and methanol fumes,
Budweiser, and
oh my gosh, some
Marlboros,
real redneck stuff, man, and
some Cowboy Killers and some Natty Light.
Oh boy, yeah. And I remember my dad just we watched the races and then go down. And he's like, "You want to go in the pits?" I'm like, "Yes, I want to go to the pits. I want to meet all the drivers."
Right.
And back then it was like those guys get out of those cars and they're just sweaty, like hairy men, like getting out and like, "Hey, boy, you want to go sit in this car?" I'm like, yeah, I do. I get in the car and it's freaking, because on sprint cars, you're straddling the driveline. There's no transmission. The motor is right up against the motor plate on the, your feet, your pedals are right there. Real tight quarters, the mufflers are right on both sides of your ass.
Right.
So the car's just hot. You jump in that thing, I'll never forget it. It was just like, oh man, I want one of these one day.
Hell yeah.
And then got into street racing. That was, Street Outlaws. I had a little in my head. I was Big Chief,
Yeah.
Was that the nitrous big block we worked on? Or you had me quote it. That was too expensive.
This was that was when I was in Morgan Hill doing street racing. That's where I got started with hot rods and everything, because my family's a big horse family and ranching and everything. I'm like, I don't want to go burn rubber.
We know.
Yeah, we know. So I got really involved into drag racing and ended up breaking my femur in all cars. 2009 when I moved up here, got involved in the car scene in Reno.
Did someone hit you?
No, I was a 67 El Camino, 327, and I put some nice big old hog heads on it, 850, way too much carburetor, and thought I was a little Ricky Racer.
A little bit.
Drum brakes all the way around it.
Oh, perfect.
So, we were going up 395, get to Panther Valley, and there was a Evo, Evo 9, I want to say, or Evo 8. I'm bad with the Evos. But
Mitsubishi 4-cylinder turbo car.
Yeah, we'll just call it one of those. But get to up there at Panther Valley, and I go to take the off ramp, and I hit a whole bunch of snow melt. I was hauling ass. I was probably doing 80, 90 miles an hour, and I was like, I'm going to take this turn. And I went to go take the turn, and I hit all the snow melt when the lanes split, and it wiped out the back of the car, and I went wham right into the...
With an El Camino?
Yeah, it was 67, man. It was my first car, and hit the wall, wasn't wearing a seatbelt. My head went through the windshield. I got pictures of it.
Why were you not wearing a seatbelt?
Because it only had a lap belt, and he took it out for speed.
20. I was 20 years old. So I hit that wall head on, and then I got knocked out. I broke my femur, compound fracture out the side, and it was a 4-speed car, and the 4-speed shifter was
Is it raining?
Bent over.
I guess so.
It sounds like it's raining.
Yeah,
outside.
It is raining.
But it doesn't look like it.
You know what Nick didn't get tonight? Sorry, I interrupted you.
The horse?
He didn't get the horse or the rooster.
No,
we had the rooster.
Oh, did we have the rooster? I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
So what happened with the car accident then?
You hit the rail?
And
blew your leg out and then flew out of the car.
No, I stayed in the car.
Oh.
I actually had a passenger with me. He was a real good friend of mine at the time. And
Still?
I haven't talked to him in a few years.
That's weird.
Yeah. He got a hell of a settlement out of that.
Oh,
insurance,
okay, yeah.
he was bracing. It was just lap belts in that car, but he went and braced himself when we were like looking at the wall. It happened so quick, but he went and braced himself on the dashboard, and he broke his the humerus.
Ooh, yeah.
He busted that one. I busted my femur. We both got knocked out, and that kind of ended a lot of my street racing.
Right,
That was like, oh man, that happens quick, you know.
Yeah.
And actually ended up turning 21 in the hospital.
Oh, perfect.
Most people do, right?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
The best place to turn 21.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of my wake up call to, you know. Ever since then, I kind of drive like a grandma on the highways,
right, yeah.
slow lane, cruise control, and just, you know, make my way up home. But then something happened and decided, you know, drag racing. I guess the whole premise is to get it over with as soon as you can, right?
Right.
You know, you go 12 seconds, you want to go 11, 10, 9s, and then the El Camino just started to get in the new El Camino, I should say, because that one got roached.
That one was done.
That one was done, man. I got to show you pictures of that one later. So, yeah, once the 70 I put together, which is a 468, had some real nice trick flow heads on it, solid roller cam, and I had Bob Oliver, which I know you guys have talked about on the show.
Yeah.
I couldn't quite get the blow-through carburetor thing working quite right. I sent that out to Oliver, and he nailed that thing.
Of course.
I did it was a blow-through with the S488, and that car ended up going in the whole world drag racing not that fast, but it went like 1060s, and it was
That's stupid.
It was
real fast.
It's a street car.
Yeah.
You know, we did water methanol injection, and it just became such a pain in the ass. I'm running the valves and just all these problems. You know, we go to Hot August nights, and my wife is, oh man, probably 6-7 months pregnant.
Right.
And we're cruising down Main Street in that car. It's caged. There's no flooring in the car. She's wearing flip-flops.
Perfect. Yeah.
They melted to the floor
Oh,
pan
good.
because the downpipe off the turbo ran right next to the floor pan. You know, I was like, this car's just not practical.
No.
Man. I'm not doing. We ended up selling that car. Got a '68 Chevelle, and I was remind me to bring up the '68 Chevelle deal, like the big block in that car. That is a good story. So
Is
she's
that
like,
the one that came to my shop?
that one I think did. It was a Gen 6 454.
Yeah, but it was too expensive, and you're like, oh,
Probably.
let me go see
Yeah, I think
Ames.
I dingle ball honed that one. And
Like,
just bring me back.
But
to
I
that
knew you
story.
How
were
about stop
Summit.
being a fucking dirtbag, Herbert?
Answer your phone.
my phone worked then. You showed up, and you're like, he's too fucking expensive. I was like, dude, you want to fucking make it right?
Anyways, I love drag
Figured it out.
racing. I guess it was just not enough driving. I'd make a pass and I'd be
Right,
like, man, I want more. It was just hot lapping the shit out of the car. And my wife's like, well, you got to figure out what you want to do. You got all these hobbies, you know, just figure it out. And I was like, you know what? I really want to drive sprint cars. I've always wanted to do it.
Hell yeah.
There's, as far as I know, it's the fastest way in the world around a dirt oval track is in a sprint car.
Yeah.
And it's just, they're just incredible, simple cars. I think Drew, when I brought it to Send that one day, Drew's like poking at it, and he's like picked up the torsion arm, and he's like, what's holding all this together? You know, like they're really like there's not
Well,
much
there's
to
just
them.
like stuff rubbing
You're like the
together.
torque
I'm like,
tube?
what is
Yeah.
up with this?
Yeah, they're
There's no
just
chassis, it's a torque tube.
they're just so simple. I mean, there's literally a U-joint bolted right to the back of the crankshaft flange, and the driveline runs right through your legs.
Oh shit.
And it's just in gear, out of gear. Like,
Oh, perfect.
so I just thought they were just real fascinating cars. I'm
Right.
like our cars are heavy. Your typical sprint car is about 1550
Okay.
and makes about 800 horsepower. So they just got a life of their own when they come alive.
Right.
And I just got totally hooked on it, and now it's just consumed my life. Holy crap. Now I'm in the middle of running a racing series, and I had no idea. There's probably about 18 sprint cars in our area.
Oh shit.
Enough to make a good field.
Yeah, enough to make a good field for sure. Yeah.
And I just walked into that broken mess, and
Right.
man, everyone's on a different end of the spectrum. You know, there's guys who, I want to run a 602 crate. I want to run a 604 crate, which is aluminum headed, you know, small block. Well,
I can
wanna-
sell you those.
Yeah.
I'm a dealer.
I mean, when this Augie motor lets go, then I might have to.
Oh
go
no, that thing
route.
will run forever.
It probably
Problem
will.
is, when Augie and I build like a sprint car motor or a roundy round dirt track motor, we tell him like
Such a fucking asshole.
it goes.
I've heard that for years.
It goes for like we tell him it's like one season, bring it back in, and then the dude will call us like 5 years later. He's like, I was at a race last weekend, And I'm like, what? Did you take some time off? Oh, no. We've done the last 5 seasons. The fucking rod broke, and I got to talk to you about warranty. And I was like, that was a year warranty on a race motor.
That was
5 years ago.
Yeah.
That was very consistent. Augie said, bring that thing back and let's freshen it up. But, me and my tight ass.
That's... So...
I'm going to keep running it until I see something wrong.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little rundown on racing. Most of my customers... because we have a I don't know what we call it, the high end customer group or the proper budget customer group.
So like me with the Dana.
It's like
it's not just you, man. We're both in the same group.
It's 24 hours.
Right.
Motors we redo the motor in 24 hours.
Not mine.
Just across the board with just roundy round or just.
Well, no, my guys are road race. That group is road race.
Okay.
But it's 24 hours. We don't... It's going to break. If you're going to go to another event next year, it's going to break at that event.
Right.
And we don't have time to fix it between events.
Yeah.
So 24 hours, send it in.
It's a good rule of thumb.
Send it in, they pay the money. The nice thing is, when the motor comes back, it's not blown up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's rings, bearings. It's all like the consumables.
Yeah, valve
almost.
guides, valves, springs, rings, bearings. We probably put pistons in it. Have the crank tuned up. Hone it. It's like it's a proper rebuild.
Right.
And they're like, what, 24 hours? Like, yeah, no. If you want to be at the same power level and consistent, it's 20. It's like.
And when you're trying
hours.
to make max power out of a certain size engine,
yeah, no, you're
the
ringing it out.
higher power rating you're going to make, the less life you're going to get,
Right.
and that's just with every engine. That's just how it
Yeah,
goes.
and
Unless you're a Harley guy, you're going to make fucking 82 horsepower for fucking 72 years.
You're going to
It's
sound
just-
cool doing
Yeah,
it.
brother. The 82 is a fucking lot. That's a new one. Yeah.
Well, that
Yeah,
that makes it's the sustained high RPMs. With the drag racing, I never had an engine failure. Like it was just make my pass, come back, babysit it, watch, check everything out. Now with the sprint car, I mean, we're doing 25, 30 laps and
Right.
Anywhere between 68 to 75. And you hit a slick spot, and I've come in with my little tack, like 78. Augie's like, don't run it over 75.
Right.
But you hit a slick spot, it's like, whack, and shit,
Yeah.
but the guy's sailing away from you down the backstretch, so you got to get right
You gotta
back
get
into
on
it,
it, yeah.
So, yeah, it
in the 24 hours, you need an engine, you need an hour meter on it.
the other thing, yeah, that's a good point. The other thing,
It's like $7 at Ranch. What's the Big R Ranch Home and Supply Store?
Yeah.
the timer, that goes around
It goes off
wires.
vibration. Yeah, you can put it on there. It
Well,
goes off
on the key-
vibration.
no,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, or there's one that's like when the key's on, it's
Yeah.
like tick, tick, tick.
So, what I didn't listen to Augie, and he probably just sick of me bringing it up, is motor oil. And I always used to run Valvoline VR1. That was like the old school ticket right there. It had a little zinc in it, take care of your flat tapping cam.
Yeah.
And Augie, he's like, don't do it. Till he was blue in the face. He's like, don't do it. I know it's cheap. Don't do it. And he got me on to Maxima oils. And I don't know, it could be a combination of Augie building this motor instead of other shops in town or the oil, but that motor, I mean, is there wood? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been a happy motor. I opened the filter up, there's no debris in it, and I mean, it's $140 for the oil change, but I mean, it's a hell of a lot cheaper than going back and forth to machine shop. So oil's been a big deal. And I should have listened to that like right off the get-go.
You're right. He's right. We use Maxima. That's our break-in oil. Our race oil is Mobile One Racing. You have to order it.
I run the RS 1040, I think. When it's cold outside,
that's fine.
Okay,
That's
the
fine.
50 weight that I originally tried with Augie, I'd go start the car up and it was
No,
like 120
the
pounds.
oil
That's what happened to my
oil
boat
filter is
engine.
like-
Drew built my boat engine, and before, like...
No. I did not build your boat engine.
No, Drew did.
The Hammer.
The Hammer
built
did.
your
That's
boat
I said Drew built my boat engine.
Oh, I thought you said Herbert.
No. It was at your shop, but Drew built it.
I supervised a little bit.
I supervised a little bit. Yeah. But I had no idea what the fuck was going on. I was like, yeah, this looks great. So Austin's grandpa, before he passed, he was always into race boats. That's how Austin got his flatty. And they're always like, oh, you just run straight 50 weight in them. And so we put 50 weight in Austin's boat and my boat. and my oil pressure gauge goes to 100, and it fucking sacked that bitch all the way around. I was like, too much. So I texted Drew. I was like, what should I be? Because we dynoed it at your shop, and he's like, all right, well, when you put it in, you change the oil on. And I was like, okay. Well, I just put oil in it. That fucking awesome tramp was like, no, put 50 weight in it. That's what it takes. Well, it fucking pegged that bitch all the way around. So I texted Drew. I don't even remember what he told me to put in it. So I put it in there, and I think I dropped to like 80 psi at startup. But yeah,
that's reasonable.
That's reasonable. I mean, it's still a good amount, but it's reasonable. And yeah, ever since then. But the first time I started up, like it torched off and just instantly pegged that bitch all the way down. I was like, too much. Yeah.
No, good oil is important.
I guess.
Or also oil cooler, because if you don't have a way to manage the temp, I don't know how long the race is. Like the road race guys, most of them have it under control, but the few guys that don't have some extra, like they'll buy a street car and then go road race it. If they didn't put something else, the car by itself in that environment won't maintain a proper oil temp.
Right.
And then they send the motor in, and you're like, what the hell? Like, all the rod bearings are out of this thing. And this is like a 997 Porsche.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing for oil system? They're like, well, we didn't do anything. We just put, like, tires and coilovers on the car. And I'm like, but you just ran the thing on the limiter all day.
Right.
The system, it can't handle the temperature. You got to do something else for it. Got to control the temperature. Good oil is very important. And what oil used to be good is not as good anymore.
Right.
The EPA probably stepped in there.
Oh, yeah. No, it's not emissions legal.
And a lot of things, especially in the diesel world, your tolerances have gotten so much tighter, at least for us.
Oh, yeah.
So, like back in the day, if you changed oil, you'd fill the oil filter up, put it back on. You don't do that anymore because fresh oil comes dirtier than what the filter on the engine can clean. So we do not pre-fill oil filters anymore. We do not pre-fill fuel filters anymore. There's a system. They bleed all the air out of it. The engine oil, same way. You do not pre-fill oil filters because the oil filter can filter cleaner than what oil comes. So that's a huge thing in the diesel world. Even manufacturers, if they find out that you've been pre-filling your filters, your warranty's void. It is a huge thing because it will go into the sump, it comes out of the sump into the oil filter. The oil filter filters it, and then it goes to the rest of the engine. Mm-hmm. And if you pre-fill a filter, there's going to be a problem.
So now that we're on the engine oil topic, what's your thoughts on AMSOIL?
I love AMSOIL.
Okay.
I tried it. It was fucking shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I bought the membership.
Yeah, I did too.
I was like, that's awesome, but I needed to do like a split-second oil change. I was like, oh, crap, I'm over. So then I didn't, I got to order it or find a dealer.
Hey, Alex took a pee break, and we didn't stop the video. I'm going to take a pee break and not stop the video.
That's fine.
We're back. Welcome back.
Herbert had to drain the main vein.
So what? Everyone took a piss. Why are you singling me out?
Because you won't answer your phone. I got a hair in my mouth. There we go. I got it.
Hey, so do you have a primary care provider, doctor? Do you have a doctor?
No, I need to get one, though.
Fucking Alex. You don't have one either?
Fuck no. I haven't been to a doctor since I was in high school.
What the fuck is the matter
I haven't
with you
been to a
guys?
doctor since I sheared my ankle bone off. And I was 17. That's the last time I was at a doctor.
What about you, Nick?
I don't know my doctor's name. It's been a few years.
So you have one? When's the last time you had labs done?
Before COVID.
I've had labs done a bunch.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get your labs done.
Yeah, let's see if you need to get on that T. We're pushers, dude.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
The problem is, and
What
this
does it
is
help with?
Everything. It
Everything.
just helps with your weight, your mood, everything.
the problem is, and this is a topic not discussed often enough between males.
Right.
30 to 70.
Boners.
Normal.
Thank you.
Yeah, boners. Yeah. Normal hormones in your body. So stress affects hormones in your body. Diet is diet and exercise, number one cause of every problem. But the trend of your generation, Drew's generation, the generation after them is more processed food.
Right.
More microplastics. More
Microplastics,
bullshit.
yep.
And so the insurance companies have lowered the standard of what is low testosterone Because the average nationwide is dropping.
The average testosterone of an 18-year-old now is the same as a 60-year-old in 2002.
You're kidding me.
Dead serious.
No.
Yeah.
But because that's the national average, now your insurance won't cover it.
Yep.
Because they're like, well, no, the average is this. So if you're below that, we'll cover it. But they drop the number every year. The reason they drop the number every year is because of the shit we eat.
Yep.
And we have this thing called a smartphone, and no one's going outside. No one's getting exercise. Everyone's eating fast food, processed food, shit. But just like women's estrogen.
Yeah, well, women's hormones, you know how they always have a problem with them. They're always dealing with them. They're figuring them out. Men have the same thing. It's just not talked about.
I don't feel like this is like if my wife was listening to this right now, she'd be like, "Please, Nick, no tea. No,
Get on the tea, dude.
I chase her around all the time.
Yeah,
like,
just wait. That's how I was. Just wait. Yeah.
How old are you?
32.
I'm 36.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm.
Yeah, just wait. Get on it, and it's like you're fucking 16 again. You're ready to go.
Well, I mean, it's been, I don't know. I've always been after my wife. I piss her off all the time. I'm always checking her out.
You're really gonna piss her off now. Get on the tee.
But she's like, "Will you give me like last night?" I was like. She's like, "Give me my space," 'cause we jump out of the jacuzzi, and then, I don't want jacuzzi water on me. So she's in the shower. I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna go in there, just rinse off real quick." She's like, "Get the hell out of here!
Yeah,
give me my space," And I'm like, "It'll be quick." And then I didn't even think where that was going.
Yeah.
Quick Nick.
Yeah, I know. That was a nickname that I learned was not a good one to introduce herself to. She turns the water, cranks it all the way up to hot. And we didn't take hot showers.
They do. My wife's the same way, dude. It's scalding hot.
Oh my gosh. I was like dancing around and trying to get the hell out of there. And she's like, "How'd you like it?" I was like, "It was the worst shower I've ever taken in my life." But yeah, she's figured that part out, man. But quick Nick.
Yeah, quick Nick.
Bring that shit up, man. I got that nickname when I was doing quarter midgets. It's like your very first entry level into like sprint car racing is asphalt. Little 5 horsepower Briggs and Stratton, little tiny sprint cars, So start doing like quick times, and I got the nickname Quick Nick. When you're like 8, 9 years old, dude,
you're like,
cool
"Fuck
shit,
yeah, I got a nickname, dude."
Yeah, that was on the side of my car, and I get to high school, and teacher's like, "Oh, Nick, introduce yourself to the classroom," and I said that, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I get nicknames Quick Nick," and the girls in the back, all snickering and shit. And I was like, "Oh, not gonna do that anymore."
Not gonna do that.
Even now that I'm back into the sprint car, I mean, I took a hiatus, getting a career and married and drag racing, and I finally got back into sprint cars. I actually had the stickers printed out, but once I rolled back on the track and seen how far off the pace I was from everyone else, I'm like, I'm gonna rip that off.
You gotta take that one off, We'll wait a little bit for that one,
So I got a stack of them, and I don't know if I'm ever gonna put them back on.
Put the sticker in the shower.
Yeah. Don't worry, babe. It's Quick Nick.
Slap it on there. Oh my gosh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
But you need, I'm going to go back to, you need to get your shit checked. Because I had low T. We've all had low T. By industry standards or 2002 standards, we've all had low T. But my estrogen was like more than 4 times what it should be.
Yeah. It's a big deal. Do you eat a lot of soy?
Do I look like I eat a lot of soy?
I mean, I asked. No, soy's a big component of estrogen.
Like soy sauce on my sushi, maybe.
Right. But like if people eat a lot of, or especially guys in general, if they eat a lot of like tofu shit like that, it's really bad for you.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Now, I know Jack in the Box is thinning their taco meat with soy.
I'm okay with that.
But I don't eat enough of that to have an estrogen problem.
No, every now and again we'll go down there and fucking throw $40 on tacos.
Yep.
So we get 80, and it's a great time, but it doesn't happen that often.
The only time
it's not enough.
No.
Fast food's always the worst I'll eat is heading to the races and then on the way back, and it's always late. I'm always getting home at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And I got a Red Bull I put to the side. It goes in my ice chest, and I look forward to it, and I only will drink a Red Bull when I'm trying to cannonball back home after the races. And it is the best tasting drink. I love Red Bulls, but gosh, I know that crap's so bad for you.
It is bad for you, and I'm not an energy drink drinker, except for I did find out through Tara that Celsius is an energy drink. I didn't know that. I was drinking those, and she's like, "Why are you drinking a Celsius at 3?" I was like, "I don't know, it's good water." She's like, "This is not water."
But I can't imagine energy drinks are good for tea.
No, I'm sure they're not. I don't know any statistics on that, but I'm sure they're not.
It's diet, exercise, stress, microplastics,
Seeing sunlight.
zinc, sunlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of shit. But I didn't know. So normal estrogen, like the range for men is like 7.
Yeah.
And when I got tested, it was 32.
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
Like-
I was 12 when I got tested, and I hover like 5 to 7 right now.
32. I was like, holy shit. I didn't grow tits, but
You could have, though, at that level, legitimately.
like it's like, oh shit. But that's it. But it's actually unhealthy for a male. You need a certain amount of estrogen, low number, heart health, lots of other stuff. But if you don't know where you're at, you gotta get tested.
Yeah.
And you're like, maybe your tea's good. I mean, it sounds like you have plenty of drive.
I do.
How do you sleep?
Terrible.
Sleeps better on tea.
Man,
Sleeps better on tea, 100%.
Like that's another. It's a hormone like estrogen for women.
Right.
It affects so many things.
So that all the to-do list and all the tasks in your head and things you need to remember that keep you up at night, like you could actually go to sleep.
Yeah, my wife hated like the first 2 months that I was on tea. It was a real hard time for her. But after that, like I sleep better, I snore less. It's been really fucking helpful.
Yeah, sleep's a big deal.
Yeah,
I
don't get a lot of sleep as it is. Like I usually go to bed between 9 and 10:30, depending on the night, and I wake up at anywhere from 3:30 to 5:30, depending on the day. So I don't get a lot of sleep, but I feel like I get way better sleep now. We need a goddamn Ageless Male sponsorship here. Yeah.
Oh no, I agree, and
I'll hit up Kara on.
I kind of warmed her up to it, but
Yeah.
I was gonna let Drew drop the sponsorship bomb.
Yeah. Well, the first time he gets that shot and those pants come down, we're getting that sponsorship. He's like, "This is Drew and Drew too."
Well, no, the secretary's gonna call me. She's like, "I need another $58." Like what? He needs more testosterone. Like, do you just want to watch him walk through the office with a boner? She's like, "Is there anything wrong with that?" I'd be like, "Well, you know,
it's fine. Yeah,
we look at boobs, so
yeah, it's fine."
What a problem to have, Drew.
Yeah, seriously.
It's fantastic. Good for you.
It looks like somebody's smuggling a ferret in his fucking Levi's all the time.
Just love that he's such a humble, easygoing
I know, that's
guy.
the best part.
You know, when I met him, I thought that he hated me. And he's just easygoing.
It was just him and his big dick cruising around, fucking having a good time, dude.
But you know, he is level, even.
Yeah.
Doesn't get upset.
Little passive aggressive, I'll be honest.
Little bit.
Yeah.
but just chill.
Yeah.
Not like smoking weed chill, but he's like,
No.
okay. I wonder if he gets the right amount of tea.
Yeah. He's going to be an animal. Yeah.
He's going to be like, F you.
Yeah.
He's going to be running cars over with his truck on the highway.
Probably.
It might happen.
It might happen.
There are those days.
Yeah.
I was driving back to work today from taking my mom to get her hair done and lunch and pastries and everything I do on a Thursday. You're welcome.
Yeah.
She doesn't listen.
Right.
She only because she can't hear. Oh. She's like, what's that noise? And I put Frank Sinatra on.
Oh, yeah.
So I had some nice ambient noise
Right.
in the car. She's like, what's that noise? And so I cranked it. She's like, oh, that's the radio.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's radio. That's Frank Sinatra, actually, but whatever. When I was driving back to the shop today, I was like, fuck, I need a truck with 40s.
Why?
What's the lift? What kind of lift do I need for 40s? Like 12?
On your dually?
No, I'll just buy another truck to lift and put
tank.
40
Yeah.
on.
Oh, they look good.
So when people piss me off on
Yeah,
the
so
road, I just
impractical.
fucking... I'll just
Ford's a
whack
lot
them with the
easier to
tire.
get.
Ford's a
40s
lot
on.
easier to get
Like
40s under.
39s you can do with a leveling.
Yeah.
We had that conversation today. I'm not a Ford fan, as you all know.
Some people just hate good shit.
Drew countered me today. He's like, well, you know, that's a big book of your business is fixing Ford motors. I'm like, I like the money.
Yeah, but
we
that's
don't-
not
we don't-
6.7s.
We don't get Chevys in. No, we're doing... EcoBoost.
EcoBoost, yeah,
That's,
for sure.
That's like, man, it's not good. All right, so we're gonna switch to a viewer comment. There's two viewer questions sent in by an astute individual who will remain anonymous. Ross Miller. We're going to have him on the podcast in the next episode or the episode after that because everyone loves him.
I don't know Ross Miller.
You'll like him.
Okay.
You'll like him. He sent in some questions. I'm going to field the question about the small...
Can Drew read the question, though? Because I don't remember exactly.
He had two questions. Class 1, Class A vehicles...
So the first question is, what are your thoughts on these twin-turbo V8s in vehicles where 5 years ago we would have had a V8?
A V6, twin turbo V6, yeah.
Sorry, V6.
I'll field that question.
And how long do they last? Do they get better fuel mileage? And are they reliable?
Go ahead, Herbert.
And Alex is taking the second question. So, Ross, to answer your first question, thank you, first-time caller, long-time listener. The V6 it only came about because of the CAFE fuel standards that the government set in place. What that means is that's average fuel economy for your fleet. So, like Dodge, if they get shitty gas mileage.
Shit owners, too.
I'm new to this.
Dodge
This is what it's like to be a Mopar guy.
Yeah,
so
Mopar, no car, brother.
So
You're the Harley rider of fucking automotive
It's
industry.
not official until you're like 6 in a row, ready to tow.
Oh, yeah.
8 in a V, squat to pee.
Exactly.
I just bought a Dodge, so I can say that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So a good example, the Chrysler PT Cruiser, the vision of that car was totally different
Straight unit.
than what. They're super gay, but that car, ironically, was shit out. The concept was totally different, but what they shit out was like a Volkswagen Rabbit,
Right.
and the sole purpose of producing that car and hyping it up and selling a lot of units was because that was the only car in their fleet that got good gas mileage.
Oh, okay. It makes sense, yeah.
And they had to sell so many of those to keep the average fuel consumption standard below the government specified threshold. That's the whole reason why the thing is, it's a terrible car. But it got good gas mileage. So several administrations, not Trump, have tightened down on the EPA to bring down, like, no, we need to keep bringing down the fuel standard to sell cars in the United States. And so what you ended up with is all these guys competing, like, what kind of mileage can we get? And a V8 is not efficient compared to a V6 because you have drag. You have the piston drag, you have the rod bearing drag, all this drag, but a V6 won't make as much power as a V8 based on if all the pistons are the same size.
Right.
So, like, well, how do we fix the power? Turbocharging.
Yeah.
Yep.
Add boost.
Put an atmosphere to it. Now the V6 is making more power than the V8.
Right.
Problem is we're making a whole lot more heat.
Right.
In a smaller package than we did with a V8, and the fuel economy it's debatable.
It's not that much better.
It's
really not.
It's only following that CAFE standard of, well, next year we need a mile a gallon.
Right.
And they're like, well, we can't do it with a 6.2.
Right.
The 6.2's been around for like 15 or 18 years now. We can't get that number. Got to go to a 6-cylinder. Mm-hmm. Now the car's a turd. We tried 6 cylinders in the 90s. It didn't work.
Right.
Like, well, let's make the motor smaller and put air into it. Okay, it works. The downside is the engine doesn't last as long.
Yeah.
There were a lot of cars on the road, gasoline burning, 160, 180,000 miles if you didn't take care of it.
Right.
It would make it that far. It's 90 to 100 now.
Right.
Now we're talking the group like this Colorado-sized truck, right? I had to kind of look up what a Class 1 diesel was.
Well, this is gasoline, so we're talking, your Chevy Suburbans, shit like that. Like
so the Suburban
Ford F-150s getting the EcoBoost, shit like that. Yeah.
What's the Suburban got?
Like my mom, she got a new. What did she get? It's not a Suburban. It's a Yukon, I think.
You can't get it with a V8 now.
No, well, she got the diesel one, which does seem to have good power. Does seem to get good fuel economy, but we'll see how it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't
Another
buy
example of that V6 twin turbos like Toyota. They don't make the iForce 5.7 V8 anymore. Your only option is a twin turbo V6.
So
It makes sense.
back to Ford, America's #1 selling truck.
You're welcome.
You know what another one is?
Ford
Every
F-150.
time I hear a Ford guy say that, they're like, "Oh, #1 selling truck." Well, it's like McDonald's. Like, yeah, sure, they sell the most cheeseburgers. It doesn't mean they're the best cheeseburgers.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no in and out of trucks, so Chevy's just your Burger King.
I do like my Chevys too.
but-
I do.
The reason that Ford really did well in the cheap car market was in-house financing.
Right.
So they would finance anybody
And they still do it. They still have
Yep.
Ford finance. Yeah.
like Harley financing.
Yep.
That's why everyone bought a Harley, because they'd finance a dude,
Anybody.
a dude with no social security number.
Right.
So Ford had the best financing. Ford had the best fleet pricing, and they took over the market. But like all these F-150s, Transit vans, all these engines, it's a twin turbo V6, direct injected. The motor runs hotter than an engine technically wants to run at.
Right.
Super high coolant temp, super high oil temp. The engine won't go 200.
Right.
The high output version of the 3.5 EcoBoost is really good too, about 90K.
Right.
And they break the crankshaft.
Now, are they battling this with a bigger intercooler, oil coolers, and like, are they able to keep this under control?
That motor was a design flaw. It's they're breaking cranks because of harmonics.
Ooh, that'll do it.
Yeah, they like the heats, like we can manage that, but we're not tracking harmonics, and the cranks are breaking. And from the dealer, the 3.5 EcoBoost crankshaft is $284. And we bought one like 2 weeks ago. It was bent 4 thou from Ford, made in Mexico, by the way.
Right.
So $230. We had it straightened, put the thing back together. But all of those, that whole generation, 2017 and newer, it won't go 200.
Well, the crazy part, just talking about that, is so I had a 6.7, one of our runner trucks. It's got a flatbed on. It's F350. It's got 60,000 miles on a crate engine in it. I bought it from a customer of mine, and the reason they did it is because they said it broke a push tube, and they weren't going to fuck with it. They put an engine in it 60,000 miles ago, broke push tube. They're not dealing with it. There's multiple things. 6.7s, if you idle them for a long time, they have a rail on top that looks like my 4-year-old drilled holes in it. They're just sporadic wherever you want them. And what they'll do is the lifter will turn sideways, and then flat spots cam. So there's single cam, and so we got it. It was supposed to just have a broken lifter. So we put a lifter in it, and we put what ended up happening is the rocker arms come as a set. So each hole has its own set of rocker arms. And you can't buy them individually. They're one whole set. They come assembled. We were talking about, they look like they're literally tin metal. They're pot metal is what they're made out of. And so I put, new rocker. Well, I bought rocker arms and push tube for it right off the bat. We go to put it in. We can't get the push tube in. We borescope it down there, and the whole lifter assembly is twisted sideways. The lifter assembly is held on with a plastic grommet underneath the head. So you got to pull the heads off. So we pull the heads off. Well, it flat spotted the cam because the rocker assembly turned sideways. Or your
Now
lifter
you're
assembly.
taking the whole motor apart.
Yeah, so we did. So the lifter assembly turned sideways, flat spotted the cam because your roller is now no longer a roller, it's a slider. And so it flat spotted the cam. So I bought a new cam for it. Brand new OEM cam from Ford, like $212. I bought all the lifters, all the push tubes, all the rocker arms, and a cam, and it cost me $1,300. I was like, I can't buy shit for a 350 Chevy that fucking costs that much. And it's literally all fucking pot metal. The whole
Yeah.
thing is built out of pot metal. And I do love Fords. I love 6.7s. I have a bunch of them. I had a bunch of them, and they're great for what they are. But the build quality is trash.
Yeah, the 3.5 EcoBoost high output short block. It's $1,700 brand new.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
It's not worth your time. You just,
I wouldn't build
Yeah.
one,
No.
not knowing what I know now. But it's to answer the listener's question. They are not more reliable.
No, not at all.
They're great until they break.
Right.
And they won't go like your wife's Suburban 03, 48.
Mm-hmm.
It might have been a turd,
Oh, it kept going.
but
Yeah.
You can't kill it.
You sold it at 200.
No, 260, I want to say. I mean, I was waiting for that 4L60 to just shit the bed. Maybe, and by the time we got it, maybe somebody already put its third 4L60 in there, but that 4.8, it didn't burn any oil. It just kept going. It
Right.
redlined
You sold it
everywhere.
at 260 and
Yeah.
it was still running.
Oh, ran great.
You can't do that with the Toyota motor. Ford's got a shitload of. I think they're going to be in a class action lawsuit soon. They got a huge warranty problem with that motor. It doesn't pencil out. The problem is our federal government doesn't know how an engine works.
Right.
They don't know how emissions work.
Right.
They think that if a car going down the road with zero out the tailpipe diesel
Yeah.
only gets 14 miles a gallon, they think that that's better than a truck that gets 21 miles to the gallon with a little puff of smoke when you
Right.
hit the throttle.
Mhm.
And they're like, oh, we can't have that puff of smoke. That's visual. Like when the smog test is with a, what do they call that, opacity lens?
Mm-hmm.
Where they view the tailpipe with a camera to view the particulates coming out the tailpipe. That's the emissions test?
Right.
Who came up with that?
Well, in diesel, most of it is just ash.
Like the guy that came up with that test is the same guy that was like a commander in the army, and now he works for he's like secretary of something, and he
Yeah.
transitioned, and
Yeah.
he's like a dude with long hair now.
Yeah.
Like that's got the guy that
Got
came
a
up
good
with that
set of
test.
knockers on him, though. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they're. I assume they're bolt-ons, but
Right.
like that's the guy that came up with the diesel opacity test
Right.
for emissions for the EP. What are you guys doing?
Well, and don't
Why
get me
don't you
wrong,
guys
I
call
love
a-
emissions because I bought a ton of shoes for my kids' feet, and I bought service trucks, I bought equipment, all
Yeah.
just off emission systems. Like, that is probably, I don't know, I would want to say 40-50% of what we do is just fixing emission systems.
My-
Oh, I totally agree.
My
Yeah.
favorite Snap-on guy in the world, Bo Reynolds.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I pray that you guys have on the show. He's a dude, just an awesome guy. His Snap-on truck, he's letting it go. He ordered a gasser.
Yep.
And I told him,
My Snap-on guy did the same thing.
dude, like he was
Yep.
all like, "Hey, where's your truck?" "Oh, it's at the shop." It's at the shop, and it was all emissions related.
Yep.
And so yeah, he just ordered a gasser, and yeah, I totally understand. I've seen all of his struggles, and
Right.
yeah, so it's emissions. That's
One thing-
the Achilles heel.
I've been doing is I started paying another company to do it at first. I didn't necessarily love the product that I got. I don't want to put them on blast because I bought a lot of stuff from them, and they do a good job, but it wasn't to what I wanted. So the last service truck I did, we did an in-house rebuild on. It turned out phenomenal besides your Summit paint. It's really fucking hard to single stage heavy metallic. I did get it to turn out right, and it looks really nice now, but I did a lot of extra sanding that I didn't fucking want to do.
Good from afar, but far from
No,
good.
now it's good. It's
it's
solid.
okay.
It fucking looks good, but that is so hard to spray.
Yeah.
Coming from a guy who does not know how to paint, I did figure it out. We got it looking good. It looks really nice. But that's what I started to do is I'm buying older service trucks. That one actually is deleted. I have one guy that goes in California quite a bit, so that's why we got a newer truck that looks like it would pass. It doesn't have an issue. It's got its clean idle sticker and everything still. But what I started doing is I'm buying older service trucks. You know, instead of like a new service truck, I'm paying anywhere from $300,000 to $385,000 for the truck, and I'm charging $145,000 to $165,000 depending on the customer. Or I can take a truck that I can buy for $50,000. I'll put $50,000 into rebuilding it in house, and I'm still charging the same amount for it. So that's one thing I did, and I don't want emissions problems because I make most of my money with emissions problems. So I don't need a truck that has those same fucking problems.
You referenced Lyon County, though.
Yeah.
So why are you? Do you have to? I know that
In Lyon County, you don't.
Supposed to.
My
but-
shop is in Churchill County. Churchill County has no smog. Lyon County has no smog. Even if we were in Washoe County, I like the tune that's in the truck that we just did is not a dirty tune. The fucking thing doesn't smoke at all. Still makes 350 horsepower. Like, it's a nice tune. It's not dirty. You probably would never even notice because Washoe County, for our size of truck, just does snap test. So same thing. They just have an eye on the exhaust stack. You just fucking smash throttle, depending on how much smoke comes out, which is none for that one. We would still pass.
I can't imagine. I put so much thought into emissions. I mean, I've thought about moving out of Reno just because I heard a 6.7 Cummins the other day, a 5th gen that was deleted. I'm like, son of a bitch. I'm ready to move out of Reno.
Yeah.
I really want to delete my truck. And I mean, like Eric was saying, like, you get rid of all the emissions and the mileage goes up through the roof. And
How can you have a clean? How can you make it cleaner if it takes more fuel to get there?
Yeah,
like
that
the fuel is the hydrocarbon. That's that's the hydrocarbon.
What about all the hydrocarbons it took to make all the shit that you're putting on it that wears out all the time?
Yeah, that won't make it through warranty.
Right.
Yeah, all the DEF fluid and the containers I see floating around the parking lots and just that fluid.
How's that cleaner? It's like we need some engine guy. Maybe we should be lobbyists for Congress. Like,
Well, and the hard part is with the diesel engine, the higher your injection pressure, the more heat you need. You're going to make more NOx. NOx is actually the problem. So that's why we have an SCR system to get rid of NOx. Well, on a low injection pressure, low temperature engine, you're making ash, your carbon. And so that's what they're trying to get rid of. But when you get rid of that carbon, you're making the NOx. So even a deleted newer diesel, you're going to make more NOx because you're running higher compression, higher injection pressure, higher heat. So you're still going to make that NOx. Now you don't have a system to take that NOx out. It is worse for the environment to delete a newer diesel than it is to run an older diesel that makes ash.
That's some good information.
So, I mean, granted, a C7, you're real lucky if you're going to get 330, maybe 350 horsepower out of it, depending on what you're going to do to it, how far you want to tear it down. It is crazy because it's a 7-liter engine that's making 300 horsepower, and you're like, we're here. It's not great. Well, but they run for fucking ever. Like, I have a couple C7s that I've gotten 18, 20,000 hours out of, and it's because they just work. Like, keep the oil clean in them, and they just fucking work.
When I'm going to the races, it's filling up the gas tank. That's all I really look at. I don't really look at the whole EPA side of things. I just like, oh man, this is gonna suck. I look at my instant mile of the gallon. It's like 8. Yeah. It's towing a hell of a load down there. But unloaded, I had an LLY. Yeah. Deleted it. It got 21 miles to the gallon, and I was like, man, that is fantastic. Yeah. So now when the Dodge is unloaded going down the highway, it's 13.
Yep.
I'm like, geez, like I'm just throwing money out the window there. So that's the side I look at, is just getting more for my gallon. You
got to think. So like for me with the service truck, I have like my Peterbilt's of C7s on average for our elevation going up and down mountains. I'll average anywhere from 7 to 9 miles a gallon. I have a 14-foot bed. We usually, if the DOT's listening, we weigh 26,000 pounds. But I have a 10 to 14,000 pound crane on board that we can do more jobs with. We have bigger compressors. We have bigger welders. We can air arc with them. We can do all this stuff. I bought a brand new F550, put a service body on it. It cost me $225,000 for this F550. It gets 6 miles a gallon. I have a 7,500 pound crane on it. I have a small air pack on it, because it's already overweight all the time. And I put more tires on it. I put more brakes on it. So tires last 15 to 20,000 miles if I'm really lucky. Same with brakes. If you're going to do tires, you're going to put brakes on the 550. I have 2 of them. They're both the exact same. So my cost to run this truck is relatively almost 3 times as expensive as it is to run a Peterbilt with a C7 in it. And you got to think, so I'm putting 3 times the tires on it. I'm putting 3 times the brakes on it. All that shit's going somewhere.
That's a lot of carbon.
It's a lot of fucking carbon. And you have to think, like, it's not more economical or eco-friendly or cost-effective to run that truck than it is for me to buy an older truck with an older engine and do a better job with an older truck because I have more options to do my jobs. So if I go out to a job and I can't do it with the 7,500 pound crane, I'm going to send that truck back. I'm going to take one of the trucks that have a 10,000 or 14,000 pound crane, send it out there to do the job. So now I'm sending a truck twice, and to do the same fucking job, we're burning double the diesel fuel, we're doing double the tires, we're doing double the brakes, all those things. If we would just let it happen for no reason. And to top it off, my 550, there's only 2 dealerships in Nevada that'll work on cab and chassis trucks, and they are not. Well, there's one in Carson City and there's one in Vegas.
That's convenient.
Any warranty stuff, my one F550 is in Winnemucca. It either has to go to Carson City or Las Vegas for any warranty claims, no matter what it is. We had a brake booster go out, and they would not touch it unless it went to Carson City.
There you go. Older trucks.
Older trucks. That's what I've been doing.
And you're recycling.
And I'm recycling. Yeah. And I'm learning how to paint. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
To segue on that to the next question.
Oh yeah, yes. Next question.
The diesel topic. It's the question is: it seems none of the major auto manufacturers make a reliable Class 1, so small truck, diesel truck. Why are there no small diesels, or why are the small diesels plagued with issues?
I think personally, it's because Americans like space. They like to have a large, like you may have one person, and that one person is going to drive a Yukon, and that thing's going to have 3 people in it, maybe ever, and most times going to have one person. You are going to have soccer moms and shit like that, but Americans like space. That's just how it goes.
Full size.
When you go to Europe, those things are everywhere. They get great fuel mileage.
Space and power.
Space and power, yeah, exactly. And I think it's part of our culture, mainly, is that we want space and power. And that's just how it goes. I personally, if they made like a diesel Maverick, I would fucking rock the shit out of a diesel Maverick. I would love one. I don't think that the same thing Americans have with public transportation. You could ride a bus to work. Are you going to? Not a fucking chance. Me neither. There's no bus from Fernley to Reno, but like all around Reno, there's transit systems. I'm not riding it. I will fucking make more money at my job so that I don't have to ride it. And that's just an American thing, I think, really. I think it's because we're really spread out. We want our own vehicle. We have a huge space, like, especially when I went over to Europe, they're everywhere. But the state of Nevada is like 3 different countries over there. So I think that it's both a personal level problem with the U.S. and also they've been doing diesels for a long time. Europe has used diesels for forever, even before and that's why a lot of companies, unlike Caterpillar, that use, like, Caterpillar's like the diehard American company. We just started using Tier 4 Final in 2012. They'd been using Tier 4 Final since 2006. So they had a lot more refined things than we do. Granted, there's only a few companies that make Tier 4 Final parts, so we're using their parts. Like Bosch is a huge company. They are not an American company. They've been using Tier 4 Final stuff for a long time, and a lot of companies like Cummins uses Bosch. So they did have a leg up when that, but then Cummins in the diesel market took 2 more years to go to Tier 4 Final because they had all these emission credits. The whole thing's a money game. If you can sell an engine that meets this requirement, every engine you sell that meets that requirement past when you're supposed to do it, you're going to get a credit for each engine you do. So because Cummins sold this many engines that were already meeting Tier 4 interim, even though they didn't have the interim components, like what was Cummins? They called it a Blue Tech 6.7? So they sold a shit ton of those fucking things. Well, then they had credits against going Tier 4 interim. So they didn't have to go Tier 4 Final until they ran out of those credits. So the U.S. is just behind in general on emissions, and there's a ton of manufacturers that are actually making Tier 4 Final right now without SCR systems. They're using I shouldn't say that. They're not using the same SCR system we are, and they're still using DEF, but they're taking away from EGR. EGR is the number 1 engine killer there is. Yes, you reduce your NOx, but you're also increasing cylinder temperature by fucking almost double, and it's an engine killer.
Yeah, it's recycling all the trash.
It's recycling trash.
Yeah.
Have you ever taken if you've ever taken an EGR off a diesel pickup, it's completely full of huge
Plug.
chunks of ash, and that ash, you can't break it up in your hand. So what do you think it happens when that breaks off and it goes into your cylinder hole?
Yeah.
You're fucking it up. It's feeding your engine sand.
Yep.
And anybody that, I mean, you take a desert racer and their filter falls off for fucking 100 miles, that engine's
Done.
toast.
Yep.
That's exactly what you're doing. But I do think that the U.S. should go into smaller diesels. I would be all about it. But most people wouldn't be. And I think that's the biggest problem is sales point.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues. In Europe, you were taxed on the displacement of your engine. And so Mercedes would have one car body style. We'll call it the Accord LX. It was actually a Mercedes or BMW. But there was like 17 engine options.
Right.
And if you didn't have any money, you could buy a 315 or a 318i, and you got taxed on the displacement. There
Right.
was no emissions deal. And diesel was the cheapest fuel, still is the cheapest fuel to produce. It's the most heat per pound fuel.
It is, yeah.
So
it still is to this day.
there's the most energy in diesel. And because the engine turns half the RPMs of a gasoline engine, the engine lasts twice as longer.
Right.
Twice as longer. That's funny. But a regular old diesel, it is not. You can't drive. It's not fun. It's kind of boring.
It's very boring, yeah.
But if you didn't have any money, you bought a diesel. Fuel was cheap. The car lasted forever, and it got great gas mileage.
But Americans are one of the few people who value the way they feel when they drive versus just getting from place to place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, this thing's terrible to
They're
drive.
like, this thing's not fucking fun at all. I can't run anybody off the road with this bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I buy cars totally off of feel.
Absolutely.
You'll
Yeah,
go
me too.
Cruising marketplace looking, oh, that's interesting. I'd drive that. Like, I never in a million years thought I would have been driving a Miata.
Right, yeah.
When I was working with Drew,
Yeah.
I was like, man, I want a little commuter car. I'm racking up the miles on the dually.
Right.
So I bought a little Miata, and dude, that thing was like, so much fun to smash around. It probably made, 70 horsepower?
Yeah.
If that?
maybe 90.
And I'm
maybe
just
90, yeah.
dude, I'm racing people that don't even know they're in a race.
Yeah.
Just slamming.
Yeah.
I actually had a lot of fun with that
Right.
car. So and now, yeah, just trying to find something that's economical and fun to
Right.
drive. I guess that goes hand in hand. Economical and fun to drive.
Right.
I don't think that's asking too much.
No.
Not at all.
And you got to think, like, if you're in Europe and you have a fucking 3-mile commute, it's pretty average.
Yeah.
Here, you can't go fucking anywhere for 3 miles.
No.
No.
No. I drive to Reno almost every day, and it's 30 miles each way.
I go through some extreme measures to make fun cars to drive. Like,
Yeah.
for instance, I built that 55 Ford,
Right.
the F100, and they helped me EV swap it.
Oh,
These
okay.
Big old DC
Not welcome
motors
here,
in
Nick.
there.
Not welcome here, Nick.
So I was trying to make fun things
Right.
to do. I mean,
No, you said you EV swapped it because you didn't want to wait for a machine shop to build you a motor.
Yeah.
that was how I rebelled.
Well, he kept
I
trying
was
to call
rebelling.
you, but you didn't answer, so he EV swapped it.
He's like, I just put a Tesla motor in it.
So and that was a fun truck. I mean, it killed the whole personality of the truck. I ended up taking it all out, and now I'm going back to a nice gas guzzling V8 in that thing.
Right.
But
Who's building the motor?
I bought a crate. It's a crate motor, actually.
Well, okay.
I got a crate motor
Yeah.
from Summit.
From Summit. There it is. Yeah, I knew it, dude. I fucking knew it.
But
You wouldn't price match, so he bought one from
they're not gonna
Summit.
like it though.
Yeah.
I put a little blueprint 350 I'm going to put in there. So I'm just doing the whole, not an LS swap, but I'm going to do an old school small block with a turbo 400 in it.
That's
Just because
fine.
I want to get going to Hot August nights and go.
That's fine. You can bring it in
Yeah.
to fix it when,
Yeah,
when it
yeah.
doesn't work. But whatever. I'm not offended. I'm happy to see you're gonna burn hydrocarbons.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
good. That's
no,
good.
well, when you're working with guys like Drew, they're just walking brains. You know, they're just fun guys to talk to. Drew totally changed my opinion on Teslas. He goes out and shows me how to do donuts in it, and I was like, all right, I like it. He probably tore up $500 in tires to take.
Oh,
me
trust me, I just had to hear about it from Tara today.
Okay.
Yeah, she sat at the tire shop for like 4 fucking hours yesterday.
That was 3 sets ago, though. So
Yeah.
that's not a situation anymore. But yeah, I mean, there's fun in all of it.
Yeah.
I just want to learn new stuff. You know,
Right.
I can't just if I didn't like take off from just learning small block Chevys. You know,
Right.
I'd be pretty silly. There's a lot of good tech out there.
Yeah.
I'm
With
still,
Ford?
I mean, I'm not opposed to it. Having like dual overhead cams and a motor that's physically bigger than a big
lot
block.
of new tech. They built 2 engines, three engines in the same year, and every single engine requires a different gasket set. But no one makes a gasket set for that fucking engine.
I love the
2018 3.5 EcoBoost. There's 3 different variants.
Really?
In 2018.
So it's not like a small block where you could bolt on something from 55 to 2000.
Nothing is interchangeable in 1 year. Like, that's a dumb... Well, I heard they had all... Oh, I can't say it. I heard that Ford's engineering team was all women, and I'm like, oh, it makes sense. Makes sense now if they were all in the same cycle.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. There goes our one woman listener.
The week that they were all off that week is when all the paperwork got submitted for production, and they didn't final approve it because they were all off that week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's actually happened since the Pinto got developed. But
yeah,
that's another story for another day.
On that note, before we get out of here, what industry are you in now?
I'm in the dental industry of all things.
Okay.
My wife's been in dental for 18 years, and just every day, telling me about what happened in the office and the doctor this, the patient that. It went over my head. Never really thought much about it. But in the middle of it, I ended up meeting a lot of the doctors.
Oh, okay.
Her bosses, and they ended up being really cool guys. One guy bought the new TRX Ram, so he was talking my ear off about that thing. I'm like, oh, cool. We found some like neutral ground,
Yeah.
And then the other doctor is he's into Mini Coopers.
Oh, okay.
So
another idiot.
I was waiting for it.
Isn't that a BMW, Eric?
Yeah.
Well, no, they bought Mini because the Brits couldn't make it on their own.
That's fair.
But these are
Still
really
a
successful
shitbox.
guys that were just excited to talk about cars with
Right,
me.
right.
When every other, dental assistant that come over would just want to talk about baseball or sports or something.
Soccer.
Right.
Yeah, I was like the one guy that could talk about mechanics and car stuff and show off what they bought,
Right.
So, yeah, I made a lot of connections there. And then one day my wife comes home. She's like, hey, did you ever think about, doing dental equipment and fixing dental offices?
Yeah, so now you're a dental mechanic.
Yeah. Look at my hands. I've never seen them so clean.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous.
Yeah.
But what they didn't tell me at the interview, they were like, hey, we're going to give you a company van and a fuel card and benefits and retirement.
They didn't show you a picture of the van first?
I think that's a clean van. I like that van.
That's a Transit.
That's a nice van.
It looks like the Pope-mobile.
I want to poke it forward, but actually that van gets used. I drive that thing everywhere.
Hell yeah.
They didn't tell me about the human, like the saliva and like the behind the scenes, there's air compressors and vacuums and stuff, and if you lose either one of those, the whole practice goes down. They got to cancel everything. Like that's a huge impact on that business.
Right.
Yep.
But you got to go in the back, and there's they're called amalgam separators, and it's all the stuff. It's all like the silver fillings out of people's mouths, and you got to go in there and change all those things every now and then.
Right.
And sometimes they don't change them on time, and they'll overfill. And we've had guys pull the filter and just stuff just comes out, and so you got to be ready. You got to have a stomach for it in the back room sometimes. So.
I didn't even think about that. That's fucking
gross,
awful.
But all
Good
the
for you.
hand
Go change the
pieces.
filter on the mouth sucker. Like,
I'm getting a lot better at it real quick. You don't want to procrastinate. You want to have that filter ready to go and pop right in there. All the hand pieces, learning about X-rays and radiation. We got to keep real close eye on that stuff and make sure that people don't get overexposed to that stuff. There's a lot of standards. Meet a lot of cool people.
Oh, I bet for sure.
And predominantly, there's so many women in that industry.
Yeah.
Like if I was single, that would be the industry to be in, because
you should have done this first.
nothing but good-looking women in dental offices, man. Holy moly. Yeah, so, dental industry, and do that. All my Snap-on tools, they stay at home now.
Hell yeah.
That was probably the biggest win when I was working at some shops. The Snap-on guy would come by, and I basically wrote my whole week's paycheck off to him.
Exactly, yeah.
So now I got all my Snap-on tools at home. And they're strictly for our cars, and I'm able to just turn off work when I get home and enjoy cars again.
That's
now
super cool.
Racing and servicing the truck, it's not terrifying.
Right.
It's not upsetting for me.
Right.
So it's a good change of pace, and I'm still involved in the automotive community, and yeah, it looks like I'm going to be going back to Eric. Eric's going to be my new machinist for the race car.
24 hours.
Not 5 years.
Well, as long as those 24 hours fall in 5 years, you're good.
Yeah, that's we do 30, 15. Yeah, no, we're gonna be way over that.
Yeah.
But we put a lot of laps in a night.
He'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just you have to have a number in mind that like it's time for maintenance. It's just it's no different than the amalgam filter at the dental office. It's
So
the exact
when you
same thing.
overflow it, it makes a goddamn mess, is what he's saying.
When you go over the hours, like when you bring the motor in, you're going to bring in a wheelbarrow off the track.
I don't want to do that.
It's way more money.
I've been leaking it down and like kind of keeping track of the cylinders and stuff and cutting the filter.
Are you checking the
open.
valve springs?
No, I'm not. I guess when I valve float or something, I guess
when the spring breaks, you'll know because you'll get a shovel and they'll push all the pieces off.
No, you know what? You're 110% correct.
Keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
It's way cheaper to maintain it.
Yeah, I do.
It's the same as marriage.
Yeah.
Way
I do
cheaper
see
to
why
maintain
Eric
it.
doesn't answer the phone, though, because the conversations are probably great. He's like, you're a fucking idiot. Bring the engine in.
I'm not that way on the phone. I'm just like,
No, you're not that way
like
on the phone.
17 weeks out. If that's okay for you, bring it in. And they're like, oh, 17 weeks. I'm like, call another machine shop. Click. And then, like, the phone rings.
Just a real gem.
There's no other machine shop.
I was just gonna ask that. How many actually? what are the other machine shops?
It's A plus and me.
Really?
And they're quoting 6 months.
Well, wait till
Wow.
Nasty's comes back.
Oh boy.
Oh, I can't wait. I don't want them to come back because the rework is terrible. Nasty just rebuilt it. Can you fix it? Am I out of money? No.
No.
Yeah. Now this is your problem.
You want to spend less money here because you're out of money because the thing. No. It's terrible. It's not a. My shop will be here forever as long as someone wants to run it
Right.
and manage it and acquire the skill set.
Right.
But there's no young blood that has any interest.
Right.
I had a kid, and we need to shut this deal down. We're way over time. I had a young kid, good friend of mine. He wanted to LS swap his Chevy Colorado, and I was like, no, you're 19, working in
Big
Qdoba.
dreams.
Like,
Big
dreams.
You're like $25,000 plus a tuner. It's not a good idea. I don't care what you saw on YouTube. Hey, I want to get into engine build. I want to get into working on cars. Can I work for you on my spring break? I was like, well, we don't work on cars, just engines. Well, I'll come work for you anyway. I want to learn about engines. So he had 2 weeks spring break. He's a junior. He's like 17. And I said, send me your schedule. You'll write your own schedule. Write your own schedule. Okay, it's 3 days, like 5 hours a day. And I was like, all of that week? Well, I'm on spring break.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Oh, you got to sleep in. Okay, cool. So I said, I'll write your schedule for this week. And he goes, what about next week? And I said, well, let's see how it goes the first week.
Right.
So, third day, I buy lunch for the shop. He gets paid. And I'd have a moment of candidness. What do you want to do when you grow up? Like, what's your career path? You don't want to go to college.
Right.
I know you're into cars. What do you want to do? He's like, I want to do YouTube videos. Oh. I can't teach you anything.
Right.
Like automotive YouTube videos or something related.
No.
to
Just
it.
like it doesn't matter. He wants to be like the dude that breaks shit that has 5 million
Whistling Diesel.
viewers. Yeah, Whistling
Yeah.
Diesel.
Yeah.
He's like, well, if you watch Whistling Diesel, I don't have time to watch YouTube.
Right.
Sorry. Cool, I'll look them up, but you don't, at 17, just roll out and have 5 million viewers.
Right.
It doesn't start there. Like, you need a paycheck. And so I was like, so, what about next week? Can I pencil you down for the same 3 days? And he's like, oh, no. It's my last week of spring break. I'm going to hang out. And I was like, oh, you wanted to book 2 weeks. Now you see why I didn't book you.
Yeah.
And that terrifying is that is like the most promising 17-year-old I've
Right.
seen in like 5 years. And he couldn't make it 15 hours.
Right.
So
Well,
It
I mean,
sucks.
you walk into some places and you're just like, what? Who hired you? Like,
Yep.
how did you get this job?
Yeah.
I
DEI.
Gosh,
Yeah.
Right.
Seriously.
on the sprint car, we don't run any tensioners or anything. Actually, sprint cars don't even have belts on them. But with our series, they're like a spec sprint.
Right.
So we still run the water pump and the crankshaft. So there's no tensioner on there. So you got to get that thing good and tight, right?
Yeah.
So I had an old belt sitting in the garage. I cut it up. I touch the ends together to get like a length on that thing. Sits in the groove, and I'm like, all right, cool, I got the right size belt for this. So all I need to do now is just go to O'Reilly's and just measure this belt.
Good luck.
Go to O'Reilly's and all right, hey, I need a belt. Your make and model. It's a sprint car. You're not gonna have anything for it.
Chevy.
Yeah, small block Chevy.
They're like, we can't do it without the VIN.
Yeah. Is it a Vortec motor or nope? This is the belt I need right here.
Yeah. It's a 9.5 by 865. Go on the shelf. They're like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, I laid it out, and I don't know, it was probably like 20. It was a tiny little belt. And she's like, you're measuring it wrong. And I'm like, well, I got it right here. She's like, you have to loop it around. And she measured across the circle. Like, not all the way around, but across. And so the number was half. And she looks in there, she's like, yeah, we don't have a belt that small. And I'm like, I didn't think you did.
Yeah. It's not for a Volkswagen.
I don't know. Yeah. I was like, again, just humor me. Let's measure the whole belt. And then she's like, okay. And then sure shit, the belt was in the back. Didn't want to listen to me.
Right.
And the last thing I want to do, I'm 36. I don't think of myself as an old guy yet.
You are.
But I didn't want to go in there and just start barking orders. When I was at Summit, man, I bet you hated that shit. In here, son, I forgot more than you know.
Yeah.
And I just, oh my gosh, just got hammered on. So I don't want to do that when I go into auto parts stores.
That's how I feel, because I get that shit all the time. They're like, oh, your dad here to fix it with you? And I'm like, bro, you called me. Fucking, let's see how this plays out.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I've been running fucking D9Ls for 35 years. I was like, that's why you're still running D9L. Yeah. Fucking, let's get it done.
I'm like having this problem. Like, I was in your shoes. I worked parts. Yesterday, I took the van to go get oil change done on it. And it's company card, man. Go run over to the quick lube and just have them just drain and fill the oil.
Right.
So while they're running the card and approving it, I'm sitting in the van, scrolling social media, checking emails, and they start pulling the hubcaps off. I'm like, what are you doing? What is going on over here? And they're measuring the wiper blades, and I'm like, dude, I'm here for an oil change. I will get wiper blades, and I could do all this stuff when I feel like I'm ready for it. And I had to get home. I got shit to get done, and these guys are yard saling my van. I couldn't fucking believe it. And then I was like, whoa, what are you guys doing? Like, we're trying to be nice. And they're like, sir, I'm sorry, but it was approved on the work order. And I'm like, I didn't approve it. I got shit to do today.
Yeah.
So you got to watch them, man.
You do, yeah.
Holy crap. Like, I trying to be respectful and nice, but man, that one got me yesterday. I would have never just started taking people's tires off at an oil change. So
Nick, it was great to have you.
Eric, thanks for having me.
We might have you back.
Yeah, we'll probably have you back. It was a good time. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
I feel like we didn't hit any of the points and all.
That's why we had to have you back, because we didn't hit any of your points. Yeah.
And we'll need some how did we do racing this 6 months?
Yeah.
How'd your daughter do racing?
Talk about your sponsors.
We do need to talk about your daughter real quick. Yeah. So your daughter races too, right?
She started racing at 6 years old. She's 8 now. She started in kid karts, little Comer 50 two-stroke. She just graduated up to, it's called Junior 1, LO 206 Briggs and Stratton. It's the one that the adults cruise around the track.
Same spec cart.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's super competitive.
It's like a mid-size between the kid cart and the full-size adult cart. I had to move the pedals all the way back because she's at the very beginning of Junior 1.
Right.
I'm that dad now. I'm like on the sidelines.
That's badass.
I never thought that 50 miles an hour would be scary, but watching an 8-year-old kid throw slide jobs in a turn at 50 miles an hour with a bunch of little boys running around.
That's badass,
that's my
dude.
daughter, man.
That's
I'm
badass.
So proud of her.
Yeah.
She does karate. She does swimming. She's top of her class. She's better than I was at that age.
Hell
man.
yeah.
I'm so proud of her.
Good.
Keep
being
feeding
a dad's
it.
the best thing.
Yeah, keep feeding it.
But yeah, man, I'd love to be back. I really want to talk about the series I'm running with the sprint cars. I work with the tracks all the way from Susanville to Quincy to Elko. Lovelock, Winnemucca, Fernley is apparently supposed to open here.
Yeah,
pretty
it's gonna
soon.
open back up. Yeah,
Yeah, I want to go over it all with you guys, and
Hell yeah.
hopefully you guys will have me back.
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you too.
Yeah,
Alex.
yeah. It was real good meeting you.
This concludes this episode of the Torque and Horsepower Podcast. As always, send in questions, comments, concerns to our email.
Just don't call Herbert.
I'll leave a message.